Hello, my true crime lovelies. How are you? I'm channeling my inner Gilda Radner. I'm trying to brush out my curls, but I'm tender-headed. So if you know, you know. I'm about halfway, three quarters. No, somewhere between halfway and three quarters done brushing it out. I still got to get to the back. Anyway, today is Sunday. It is the 27th of October, and Sarah has been convicted. I'm finally done crying, laughing, all of those things, and can finish out these videos. I'm going to finish Sarah's testimony. I haven't even seen it all because you know, where I was mentally, and I just feel better now that she's been convicted. She's been found guilty of the horrible things that she did. And we're going to leave it at that. But let's look at her road to destruction that she created herself by testifying. Let's start there. Alrighty, where am I going to put myself? Over here. And then...
State, you recognize our jury?
Yep, wrong.
Defense, you recognize our jury? All right, thank you. Y'all can be seated. Members of the jury, after seated and comfortable, if you could raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during the break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. With that, state has rested. The defense is going to put on a case. Defense, Mr. Owens, you can call your first witness.
Defense, we call Sarah Boone.
Raise your right hand, please. Sworn, please. Please swear or affirm the testimony you should give. Shall be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
All right, ma'am, you can take a seat. And if you could, state and spell your name for the record, please.
Sarah Boone, 101077.
And could you spell your name?
SARAHBOONE.
All right, thank you very much. Sir, you may inquire.
Ms. Boone, would you please tell the jury where you were born and raised?
Atlanta, Georgia.
You were born in Atlanta?
Born in Atlanta.
And how long did you stay in Atlanta before you moved here to Florida?
I was 3 years old, 3 or 4.
Okay. And from that time, y'all moved, you and your family, your mother and father, moved to Orlando?
And my grandparents.
Okay. Y'all all moved down from Atlanta down to Orlando?
Yes, and my 2 brothers.
Okay. And were you raised here essentially from that time on?
Yes.
And you resided here in Orange County, Florida that entire time?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you go to high school here locally?
I did.
Where did you go to high school?
Edgewater.
Okay. And tell the jury, how old were you when you graduated?
I was 18 years old.
Now, I know you.
Okay, so far, nothing warm and fuzzy. This is really not the first impression of the juries have, because I've seen videos, but of her actually talking to them, giving testimony to them. And I feel like Owens went back to her childhood because there's a pity story that's coming up that they want to get in, but also to make her more likable to the jury. But she's not giving any of that energy of like, oh, I'm from Georgia. We moved when I was 3. She's just like very matter of fact. And she's looking a little peaked. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. The eyeliner is not working for me. Like it's smeared down here, which I thought she wasn't supposed to have makeup. So maybe it's like pencil lead or something, but it doesn't look good. It reminds me, it's the opposite of like when those girls have 6-inch eyelashes. She's just got a 6-inch line underneath. Ma'am, our eyelashes don't grow down here. Anyway, let's get back to him.
You lost your mother and father.
Overruled.
I know you lost your mother and father in your teens and in your 20s. Is that true?
I lost my grandfather when I was a sophomore in high school, and I lost my father when I was a senior. And then my mother passed away a few years after that, and then my grandmother passed away after my mother died.
All right, so you were in your 20s when all that was going on?
Yes.
Okay. And then at some point in your 20s, you met Brian Boone?
I did, yes.
All right. And how long did y'all date before you married?
A good handful of years. I helped my family with paying mortgage and bills for the house since my father had passed away and my grandfather. So
you worked outside the home?
I did.
Okay. Can you tell the jury when you said you and Brian?
What does that even mean? She worked outside the home. She was like 19, 20. What sort of home job would she have?
Been dated for a while. Do you remember when y'all married?
I do.
Could you tell the jury when y'all were married?
The year?
Yeah. You remember the date?
It happened to be, yes, that after my mother passed away, that he had waited to ask me to marry him because he knew it would be,
Sustained.
Just answer the question if you can, Ms. Boone. Are you a little bit nervous?
a little bit.
Okay. Well, just tell the jury if you remember the date that you and Brian Boone married.
August 21st, 2004.
Okay. And had y'all lived with each other for a short time before that?
Short time.
Yes. Okay, after you married, how long was it before y'all had any children?
Gosh, 6 years?
Okay. And y'all have one son.
Yes,
What's his name?
Lucas.
And how old is Lucas now?
Lucas will be 14 years old on the 28th.
28th of this month?
Yes.
Okay. So you and Brian were married and y'all lived in Orange County. How long were y'all married?
For 13 years.
All right. And y'all divorced?
Yes,
And as part of the divorce, were y'all to share custody of your son?
yes,
And so y'all would split days. Would that be fair to say?
yes.
Okay. At some time after you and Brian split up, did you meet George Torres?
Yes.
All right. Could you tell the jury how you met George Torres?
I met George when I decided to buck up, I guess, and was tired of trying to patch things up with my ex-husband. And I decided to go one day for a walk across the street and go have a beer by myself and sit and people watch just to get out of my house and a change of scenery.
All right. Now, is this your apartment?
No, this is the marital home,
Okay. Where is that marital home?
Winter Park.
You're no longer living in that marital home?
No,
Who lives in the marital home?
no one. It has been sold.
Okay. So you met George Torres before you got the apartment?
Yes,
Okay. And you met him at a bar across the street from the marital home?
yes, we had a mutual friend there.
Were you introduced?
Yes.
All right. How did you and George?
Now, remember, Brian said she was always at the bar after, and it got worse once Lucas was born, and that he kind of drew the line because random people will be coming in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in the back door calling out Sarah's name. So the whole innocent story of, oh, I finally went over to, I was tired of being by myself. I just bucked up and went over and got a beer and people watched.
Get along when y'all first met?
Very well. It was strange how quickly we hit things off and had so much in common. And I never thought that he would be interested in someone like me. And I just couldn't believe that he was actually interested in me and said a lot of nice things. And 1 hour ended up being 4 hours from when we had first met. And then we would always have something to talk about.
Why couldn't you believe that he would be interested in you?
He was very handsome. He was very funny. He was smart, and I would show up in workout clothes and disheveled hair, and I guess I kind of felt broken from being in the process of the divorce that he knew about. But then one of the things that we could relate.
So she's mixing up tenses because she's changing her timeline, right? So first she said they talked, I think she said 4 hours, and then they never ran out of anything to talk about. Well, that's not that remarkable in 4 hours, right? I think she's meaning across the beginning of their relationship. And when she's saying she was always in workout clothes, always, we're only talking about that first meeting still, or did I get it mixed up? And I hope those pink shorts that we saw in all the body cam footage was not her workout clothing.
It also was the fact that he was here in Florida because he had just been divorced from his second wife. So that was another topic that he and I could compare notes on.
So if
That was a dig. Why couldn't he have just said he just got divorced? She put in the second wife because she's trying to take him down a notch. Like, I only have one ex-husband, but he has 2 ex-wives type yuckiness.
eventually the divorce was settled, did you get your own place?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that after at first you lived in your parents' home, correct?
Yes, until I was married.
And then you moved directly in with Brian,
Yes.
and then y'all lived in the marital home, correct?
Yes.
And then you got this apartment.
Yes.
So that was the first time in your life that you actually had your own place.
Yes.
And what was the address?
4748 France Court, apartment number 3.
And what city is that in?
It's in Winter Park.
How far is that?
So it's not the first time she has her own apartment because she moves in with George. They met in October of 2017, or they officially became a couple in October of 2017. They moved in together 4 months later in January of 2018. And she couldn't have afforded the place on her own. I know people are like, oh, she had the settlement money. But you still have to have ongoing income to get in, and she did not have a job. Owens doesn't specifically ask her that, so we have to infer it. You and I know, because we've been following this. The jury does not know that, though, right? They just met her.
So you got that apartment, and initially were you by yourself?
No.
All right, tell the jury.
In the almost year, about 10 months of separation from Brian, my ex-husband, that is the time when I met George. And my ex-husband was trying to buy me out or force me out of our marital home, and I needed to find somewhere to live. And
So did you and George agree to rent the apartment?
And she says buy me out / force me out. I think she says it for sympathy, but that's got to tell any person, like, that's a red flag. You have a child with this man and he's quote unquote trying to force you out. He's trying to create stability for his son, for the son that belongs to both of you guys. And so you need to go. Otherwise, if you were this upstanding mother, you would stay there. He would go get an apartment. You know what I mean? Like the subtext of what she's saying, even though she's trying to throw shade at Brian, you throwing a red flag up for yourself, ma'am.
it's one of I needed extra income. We could not afford it just on my own.
You were receiving some income from the marriage settlement, were you not?
Yes.
So you did have a consistent monthly income coming in from the marriage settlement,
For the most part, yes.
but you needed more to live.
I don't like her non-committal answers. For the most part, yes. Either you were getting it or you weren't getting it. Like it's 100% of one or the other. It's not, you can't have what are you talking about? What are you saying?
Yes, to pay the bills and for rent.
So did you and George have some agreement?
We did.
All right, what was the agreement?
The agreement was that if I decided for he and I to live with one another, because it would be under my name, that he would help with the monthly bills and on a regular basis where it wouldn't be something that I would have to argue with him about. It would just be an automatic. Make sure that everything's paid first, and then from there, hopefully have some fun with it.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have to argue about it. Who had you argued about it before? Like, why would you think there would be an argument? Are you saying at one point you had argued with Brian about who was going to pay the bills? Because you didn't have a job then. So it just is a curious way that she has phrased that. So we wouldn't have to fight about it. As if she has some knowledge of people fighting and or some experience of people fighting over the bills. And then it makes them both sound irresponsible. Like, if something's left, then we could have a good time. Like, ma'am, you were 42. What are you talking about?
So I understand from that point on, would it be fair to say that y'all saw each other on and off for about the next 3.5 years?
No, I would consider us a couple. At some point, he asked me to marry him.
Okay. But y'all did have times where he left and went to live with his parents.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes.
And there were times where there was an understanding that y'all were going to break up.
Multiple times.
Okay. All right. So again, on again, off again.
Yes. This was actually before we had our apartment. That was, I guess, our dating phase.
Okay. So y'all were together.
What was the dating phase? They were on and off again before they had the apartment while she was still living in Brian's home. What?
Together for 3.5 years. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And y'all had actually agreed to marry?
I'm going to let it play in a second. It's not 3.5 years. If you met in October, or if you hooked up in October of 2017 and he was murdered in February of 2020, it's not even 3 years. It would have been 2 years, October 2019, 2 years. And then 4 months later, he was dead. So 2 years, 4 months, you were together.
He had asked me, yes, a couple of times to marry him. And one time I agreed to yes.
Okay. Now, I want to get directly to the date of this event so that the jury can hear your testimony. All right. So tell us, I believe the date is February the 23rd of 2020. Explain to the jury that whole day, from the time y'all got up, the whole thing.
Approach.
He said objection calls for narrative, which is where you just talk and talk. And so the state wins this, but then, or I think, hang on, I don't remember. It was weird because then Owens decided not to do a narrative, but I feel like the judge overruled the state actually and said, it's fine. Who's she looking at? Defense table, maybe Christina, Pena, the sheriff's deputy, her chaperone's coming over to help her with the like, no, she was nice to her. Instead of giving her the business, like, wait a minute, don't do this, don't do that. Sarah's mouth, she has a lot to say. I think that's why she's twitching, like she's
Objections overruled for now.
holding it. Overruled. She can do a narrative.
Boone, let's just, instead of one long speech, let me break you up over the course of the day. So do you remember the date of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes.
Do you remember getting up?
Yes.
All right, just tell the jury about that morning, what y'all did that morning, what you and George spent the night together at the apartment.
Yes, at that point, he was living there.
Yes. So y'all slept in the bed together upstairs, February. So y'all would have gotten up that morning, February 23rd of 2020.
Yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when y'all got up.
He was already downstairs, and I went downstairs, and he wanted to start the day off by drinking because it was a day off from his job. And I talked him into cleaning and tidying up the house for.
He had lost his job 2 weeks before this, so I don't know what she's talking about when he didn't have a job. So was he drinking every day then? I mean, he may have been, but she's making it sound like it was a day off and therefore he could drink, but all his days were off, if you pick up what I'm putting down.
For a sense of accomplishment. So that is what we did for however long that it took. So we did tidy up the house and got everything in order. Cleaning and tidying up the house for a sense of accomplishment. So that is what we did for however long that it took.
What did they do the day before? It's Sunday. You didn't clean the house at all yesterday, and now today you need a sense of accomplishment. Is he 4? What?
So we did tidy up the house and got everything in order, and it was kind of a reward, I guess, to be able to sit and enjoy ourselves and sit on the backboard.
All right, what do you mean by cleaning up the house? What did y'all do?
We swept and mopped. We folded some of the laundry. I know that we did the dishes, emptied the dishwasher, just general run-of-the-mill tidying up.
And did you have your son coming the next day?
Yes, that was one of the reasons why we were able to do that.
What was the arrangement you had in terms of the next day would have been your day to pick up your son from school?
Yes.
What time would you pick Lucas up from school the next day?
I believe his school ended at 3:00.
Okay. So you would have been responsible to pick him up and he would be spending the night with you that night.
Yes.
So you wanted to have the house nice and clean.
Yes.
How many bedrooms are in the home?
2.
And you and George had one bedroom?
Yes.
And who had the other?
Lucas.
All right. Is that exclusively his bedroom?
Yes.
All right. So how long would it have taken y'all that morning to clean?
I don't really remember what time we woke up, but maybe a good 2, maybe 3 hours.
Okay. And would it be fair to say that you and George both smoked cigarettes?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that you and George both drink alcohol?
Yes.
All right. So at some point, y'all finished your chores, right? And then y'all were going to enjoy the day.
Yes.
All right. What was the plan?
It was just kind of, we've got the day to ourselves. Let's just kind of relax and go with the flow.
Did y'all make a decision that y'all were going to start drinking?
Yes, we had a half of a bottle that was already in the refrigerator, and I did not want to go out afterwards. I, again, had Lucas coming the next day, so we went over to Publix to purchase another bottle of wine so we could not have to go out later on that evening.
Now, you were here in court when the state played the video of you two and the Publix purchasing the bottle of wine?
Yes.
Is that what you're referring to here with the jury right now?
Yes,
Okay. And that was around noonish?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Had y'all started drinking the leftover bottle before going to the Publix?
No.
Okay. So y'all bought a bottle of wine?
Yes,
All right. And how did y'all get to Publix?
my car,
How far is Publix from your apartment?
5 minutes.
How would you get there from your apartment?
We mean,
Do you have to go across any major highways or is it right there?
Meaning, did you have
just come out
flying
of our,
monkeys?
apartment complex, and you do a little U-turn, and then you come up, and it's right in that complex.
Okay. But it's easier to drive than to walk.
Yes.
I know at sometimes y'all would simply need cigarettes and it was in walking distance. Can you tell the jury about that?
Yes, there was a AutoZone convenience store with in the same, I guess, parking lot of our townhome, our complex, and it was just a straight shot from our apartment to a back gate, and you could get right into the convenience store from right there.
Okay. But y'all went over to get that bottle of wine around noonish. And how did you took your car?
Yes,
Did George have a vehicle?
we did not.
And how did you pay for the wine?
With my debit card.
And then y'all came back and started drinking?
Yes.
Okay, tell us what you did when you got back from the Publix.
Just went on the back porch where we usually spend our time because we're able to smoke cigarettes outside as opposed to inside. And
Is cigarette smoking not allowed indoors?
it is not.
Okay. Do you have pets?
Yes, I do.
Well, did you have pets?
I did, yes.
Okay. Were they with y'all there that day?
Yes, my dogs were with me all the time when I was there.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 2,
And just what are their names?
Penny and Tess.
And what is the breed?
They are red Boston Terriers.
And are they both disabled?
Yes, Penny is blind and Pef is deaf.
Why does the jury need to know that? I think Sarah wanted him to ask that because, as we saw in the video where she was coaching George to not press charges, she wanted him to add in the deaf and blind dog. Yeah, she sure did.
So when y'all went out to smoke on the back porch and drink, I assume, as well, correct?
Yes.
Did y'all take the dogs out?
Oh, yes.
All right. Is there a place for them to do their business out there?
Yes, I extended our back porch for them to have a little bit of area as opposed to going from a large backyard from my marital.
How did she extend the porch? She poured cement. Now she's going to compare it to her ginormous marital home.
Home to our little townhome, and they would come out there and do their business, and I would open the gate and then walk them in the back part of our apartment.
So you and George were just going to enjoy the day together?
Correct.
Is it fair to say y'all don't have a lot of money?
Yes.
And so y'all were going to do something there in the home? Y'all weren't going out for dinner? Or...
Yes, I would consider us homebodies as opposed to going out and partying and doing this and that.
Okay. And how long do you think y'all were out that afternoon outside?
A few hours.
All right. Could you tell the jury what y'all did during that time?
We have a dartboard that's out there, and we just had drinks, and we're just really enjoying each other's company and talking about, things upcoming. We both were looking for a job and just kind of, I guess, encouraging and supporting and planning.
Well, now you said he had a job. Was he looking for a job, a second job?
No, the job that he had was very unstable, and at that.
So he was looking for something new?
Yes, at that time, yes.
Okay. And so during that 2 or 3 hours, would it be fair to say that y'all drank the bottle?
Yes.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that y'all were feeling the effects of the alcohol?
Yes,
Okay. At some point, who made the decision to come in?
I did.
Okay. Why did you want to come in?
I felt that George needed a change of scenery.
Okay. So y'all came in, and then did y'all do anything else before he left again? Were y'all doing anything? I know y'all did some arts and crafts. What did y'all do? At some point, he went to get another bottle at Publix.
Yes. I believe it was after it was right before I believe that we had gone inside. Because he called his daughters. I was trying to encourage him to call his family.
Okay. Now, where are his daughters?
His 2 daughters are located in Pennsylvania.
And what are their names?
Anna and Destiny.
And how old are they?
I believe that Anna is in her 30s and Destiny may be in her early 20s.
All right. Does he have any more children?
Yes, he has a son.
And what is his son?
He is in Pennsylvania also.
Okay. So part of that afternoon is y'all came in to call relatives, call family.
No, I had him call outside, just trying to, I guess, boost the mood. And the first daughter didn't answer, and I don't remember the reason I didn't speak to the second one. I believe he did. It was just for a moment.
All right. Now, whose phone were y'all using?
My phone.
All right. And is that common for y'all to use that, for y'all to share that phone?
It was because George said that he didn't have a phone. So it would either be lost or given to him by his mother. So I didn't know he had a cell phone. So we would use my phone.
So it was primarily your phone?
Yes.
Okay.
It was primarily Brian's phone since he was paying for it, but okay, Sarah.
And you took a lot of photographs that were on that phone?
Yes.
Videotapes?
Yes.
Text messages?
Yes.
Phone call?
Yes. He and I both on the phone calls.
So he would use it as well?
Yes.
And that phone, is that the one that was seized in this case?
Yes.
All right, so y'all called his daughters, and then during that phone call period, did you also call his brother?
Yes.
Okay, and which brother was that?
John.
Or now, how many brothers and sisters does George have?
I'm gonna list them if that's okay.
Okay.
It's John, Pharrell, Isaac, Mo, and his sister.
Okay. And do they all live here in Florida?
Yes,
Are they close by?
as far as I know, yes.
What about his parents?
So, didn't Juan introduce himself as Juan on the stand? Is she Americanizing all those? Did George really want to be called George, or did he want to be called Jorge? I'm confused. And also, is she listing their names so that in case one of the jurors heard about what his brother did, that would spark up something? Like, you could have just said their names in your head, ma'am. Knock it off.
Yes,
They live here as well?
yes.
Okay. But his ex-wives and his children live up in Philadelphia?
Yes.
Okay. So you called the girls, then you called, or George called his brother.
Yes.
Was that conversation that long?
No, it was not.
Okay. And then after that phone call, were y'all inside by this time?
Yes, at this point, I believe that it was a good time to get a change of scenery. So I thought George would be better off inside, and frankly, I didn't want to be outside any longer either.
Okay.
When George should come back in. And she also wanted to go in. So it doesn't sound like they had a conversation like a normal couple, like, hey, babe, we've been outside. Let's go inside. She has decided for him. Is she running a convalescent home for drunk men?
Okay. So just to get an idea, about this time is when he went to get the second bottle, or did y'all stay inside for a while before he left?
No, from what I recall, I thought the day was over and it was going to be get ready for the evening, for the day. What do you want for dinner? You know, do you have an extra load of laundry that you need to throw in, kind of thing? And that was my understanding. And he said,
This was about 5-ish or something?
I don't remember the time.
Okay. At some point during that time period, did George go to Publix again?
Yes, I thought he was going to be walking to the convenience store, but apparently when he returned, he had gone across the street with my car and my debit card to buy another bottle of wine.
What was your understanding of where he was going?
To the convenience store, walking,
For what?
cigarettes.
Okay. And you learned obviously that he came back, and you learned that he'd used your vehicle
Yes,
and he'd used your debit card,
yes,
and he brought back a bottle of wine from Publix.
right,
And you saw the Publix video of that.
yes.
So he comes back with the other bottle of wine, and did he want you to drink with him?
It was expected, yes.
Yes. And you agreed to consume the second bottle with him?
Yes.
Okay. So over the course of that evening, drinking the wine, what did y'all do for time-wise? Watch a movie, music, just kind of tell the jury what you remember. I know it's obviously been a while, but.
It was kind of a regular thing where I would always try to come up with entertaining activities for George. And I bought a puzzle. We started off at one point doing a smaller puzzle, and then we did that very quickly. So then I purchased a larger puzzle, and I believe it was 1,000 pieces. So I thought to get his mind off of things and to focus on something, it would be smart for us to do the puzzle. So for however long that took, we finished the puzzle. So that was one.
Did you every piece was finished, or was it?
Every piece was finished. It was strange that we couldn't find one piece, and we thought it was funny that it was like in like the perfect place on there. But yes, every one but one piece.
All right. After the puzzle, what did y'all do?
I decided to continue to maintain and focus him, and I have a bunch of paints that I used of my son's that his grandmother bought him. It's a very big art wooden box, and it's got pastels, pencils, paint, any kind of whatever. And he and I were very much into art, and with this resource, it got him very interested in being more creative.
How long have you been into art?
Ever since I can remember, as a child,
You like to draw?
I like to do anything artistic.
And I know, we saw some of the pictures of your apartment, but it looks like there was pictures and artwork up. Is that all your work and George's work?
The majority of it, yes, are belongings from my home, and then also some of George's, yes, on the wall.
Was he pretty good at art as well?
Yes,
All right. So you both enjoyed doing that.
very much.
So y'all got out Lucas's art set. What did y'all do with that?
We were just, I guess, doodling, whatever. I would always tell him that
Slow on the uptake. Does that make sense? The stuff was from her marital home and some of it was George's. Weren't they talking about art that the two of them created? Or is she some scribbles on the wall at her house with Brian's, and Brian was like, please take those, ma'am. Take those out. Also, George was an artist. So I don't know. She's just given like she's running a convalescent home for drunk Latino men.
Everything that you make is a masterpiece. So just let loose and just let it go. And we would just paint and paint and drink, yes, and listen to music sometimes, and yes.
Okay. Now, with the dogs, did y'all get the dogs involved?
Oh, yes. My dogs follow me everywhere, yes.
Was it like a sip and paint or a pour and paint?
Was there some dancing going on with the dogs?
Yes, after we had completed the puzzle and I guess we're painted out, I thought that it might be a good point for us to maybe listen to some music. And the music that George listens to is it's very fractious to me, and it was definitely not going to lighten the mood. So we ended up finding some channel on the radio, and he was feeling it. And then we ended up, my one dog gets very active and was dancing with us, and we were just having a good time listening to music.
And I guess it's getting pretty late in the evening.
Yes.
Anything else I've missed?
I totally so.
Fine. So tell us where y'all ended up before you started the game of hide and seek.
We were there. I couldn't think of anything else possibly that I had to continue entertainment. But I remember sitting at the end of the couch and him sitting in one of my son's chairs that was in the living room and just kind of doing this. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, I very much would like to go to sleep.
Had y'all finished off that bottle that he had bought?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Bless you.
Would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more y'all consumed?
I think they should have had a plan for this. And then she shouldn't be saying, to be honest with you, you're on the stand, ma'am. Everything should be being honest with us. But why is she not bottle when she knows there were 2 empty bottles in the trash can? Unless she's going to say she finished them off the next day. I just don't like the waveriness, the waffling. I feel like she's waffling. And then did you see her face? Someone sneezed. She didn't acknowledge the sneeze. She seemed like she heard it, but she wasn't like, oh, bless you, is what I mean by not acknowledge it, where Judge Koenig said, oh, bless you. And she got annoyed. Like, it just seems like if the judge said that, you would take a pause and you know what direction the sneeze came from and give like a smile or something, like, or whatever, or say bless you too. Like, humanize yourself, but she doesn't know how.
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that as the day wore on, the more you consumed, the more effects you felt from the alcohol?
Of course, yes.
Oh, both of you?
Yes.
Okay. So you would agree, would you not, that at the time y'all were trying to figure out something to do and you put your head down on the couch, that would it be fair to say that y'all were intoxicated?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened.
At one point,
Last one, and I'm going to let her go for a while. But why were you looking for something to do? I think these are the signs of alcoholics who are trying not to drink, because I can sit at home and just be entertained with a book or something. I don't need Julie from The Love Boat. Maybe that's who she's being. She's not. Ooh, as you can tell, Sugar Bear is up now. She's not running a convalescent home. She's running a cruise ship. She's the cruise director. Julie, I can't remember her last name. Love Boat. Tell me in the comments. I know you guys will remember. But anyway, yeah, like, it just, why are you guys desperately searching for something to do? You can't just sit and have a conversation. You can't just sit in silence and do your respective hobbies, a crossword puzzle, a video game. It just seems sus.
I guess he knew that I couldn't come up with anything else, tapped me on my knee and said, you're it. So from there, I ran up the stairs and hid into our shower, just waiting for him to find me so we could hopefully go to sleep soon at some point. And
your shower, is it a tub or just a walk-in?
it's a tub, but it's in the master bedroom, and you have to go all the way upstairs. You have to go in the bedroom, and then you have to go into the bathroom part, and then there's the shower part.
So did you lay down in the tub?
At one point, yes, I was.
Okay. So you were hiding?
I was trying.
Okay. And did you believe that he was going to come try to find you?
Yes.
Did you wait?
Yes, for quite some time.
All right. Then what did you decide to do?
That I decided that I need to go to sleep. I'm picking my son up the next day, and we need to start wrapping up the evening. And I went downstairs to find where he was.
And what, I think the jury has seen pictures of your, would you call it an apartment or
It's considered a townhome.
a townhome? So you walk down the stairs, right?
Mhm.
And at the bottom of the stairs is a bookshelf here?
Yes, at the very end of it, yes.
Okay. So you walk down the stairs and you turn and look in the living room. What did you see?
I don't even think I made it all the way down the stairwell because I was just looking for him as soon as I could to hopefully go upstairs as soon as we could. And I looked over and I saw him settling himself in the suitcase.
All right, tell us about the suitcase. How long, is it an older suitcase?
Yes,
Whose suitcase was it?
this is George's suitcase.
All right, and did he use it for traveling back and forth to Philly?
Yes, I had recently taken him on a trip to go see his children in Pennsylvania, who he hasn't seen in years. And we took that with us. And because of how dilapidated it was, how broken it was, in the end, after that trip, we decided that we would donate it.
All right, and I understand y'all kept the suitcase upstairs.
Who takes a dilapidated suitcase on a trip? Also, who donates a dilapidated suitcase? Like, just throw that thing away, ma'am. You notice she had to get in that she took him to see his daughter. So they're just trying to like lay it out like he's broke, laying up on this woman, taking her debit card to use to buy alcohol when he's not supposed to. Did I hurt your wrist? Is that better? Is that better? Okay, back to Sarah.
Yes,
How long did y'all keep it upstairs?
since we had moved in.
Is there a closet up there you kept it in?
Yes, it was in the master closet, the master bedroom closet, all the way in the back because of the size of it, and there was nowhere to put it, so it's all the way in the back.
So when did y'all decide to move it down from upstairs to downstairs? Was it that day or sometime earlier?
No, it was maybe a week or so prior.
Okay. And so what, y'all were gonna donate that to Goodwill or?
Yes, we were going to do, I guess, a spring cleaning. Anyone who has children understands that they grow quickly, and there was a lot of clothes that I needed to go through of my sons, and then also from George and I moving in and just kind of putting everything in there, at one point where we just needed to actually go through it and organize it and get things more in order.
So is that the reason it was downstairs? You were gonna donate it and a bunch of things that you were gonna put inside of it?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So it'd been down there a week, so it was already down there?
Yes, George brought it down.
Okay. So you said that you got down there, you're looking for him, you see him settling into the suitcase.
Yes.
What did you do?
In my head, I said, oh man, we're obviously not going to be going to sleep anytime soon. And I walked over and he was trying to get himself flat, so I couldn't tell that he was in there. And then
Now, let me stop you there. The suitcase, is it the suitcase over here in the
yes,
box? You've seen it, you saw it.
yes,
It's a pretty big suitcase.
yes.
How big is George?
George was my height, and
How tall are you?
I'm 5'3".
Okay. And how much did George weigh?
I thought it was 100 pounds.
Okay. And how much did you weigh?
I was 98 pounds.
All right. Do you agree you put on some weight?
Since I've been incarcerated, yes.
So that's the second time they've mentioned her being incarcerated or alluded to. The first time was when they were talking about the dogs. Do you have the dogs? I used to have the dogs unless the dogs are dead. Then rest in peace, Tess, and I can't remember your other one. I think she slipped up. Maybe she was insulted about gaining weight. But she was like, since I've been incarcerated, I would not have, well, if I were an attorney, which we all know I am not, I would have advised her to not mention being in jail.
Well, at the time, though, y'all were pretty skinny.
Yes,
So from the pictures, it looks like y'all were both pretty thin.
yes,
All right. So because of his thinness, is that how? And he's a small man.
yes,
Okay. So he was able to get in the suitcase on his own.
yes.
Did he willingly get in the suitcase?
He was already in there.
Okay. When you got to him, did he see you?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what happened.
I mean,
She's got a timeline problem, right? Because she's, in her story, she went up, hid in the shower. I'm guessing she laid down. That's why it got cold. Either way, she's in the shower for enough time to give up and go look for him. So after all this time, while she's in the shower, what was he doing? Because she said she saw him getting in and the top was flapping. That's how she knew he was in. So what was he doing the other time while she was up and in the shower?
I zipped him up. We thought it was funny. And we're joking about how he was, I guess, small enough to fit inside of the suitcase.
All right, so what happened then?
From there, it was just, we were laughing about it. And it was just strange that he was small enough to fit in there. And then I kind of moved it around a little bit with him in the suitcase still. It was still funny that he was still in the suitcase. Just, I think he and I were just kind of couldn't believe that he could fit in the suitcase.
Did you eventually close the?
Did you see the look on her face? I'm going to replay it. That looks like the only time she like relived one of the memories. And it's probably really a memory of her laughing at him and not they weren't both laughing, that he could fit in there. I'm going to just go back just a little bit.
Just strange that he was small enough to fit in there. And then I kind of moved it around a little bit with him in the suitcase still. It was still funny that he was still in the suitcase. Just, I think he and I were just kind of couldn't believe that he could fit in the suitcase.
Did you eventually close the top?
Yes, the top was already closed. As he was settling himself in there, that's how I knew he was in there, was because the top was kind of flopping a little bit.
Okay. So he had gotten in there to hide and he pulled the top.
Yes.
On top of it. But you could tell he was in there.
Yes.
You saw him right away.
Yes.
All right. So at some point, did you zip him up?
Yes.
And what was he saying or doing when you were zipping him up?
I just thought it was funny.
Were you both laughing?
Yes.
And so you zipped him up. Were y'all still laughing once you zipped him up?
Yes.
Tell the jury what happened then.
From there, I moved the suitcase around a couple of times, just kind of on the wheels and moved it around. And at that point, it was funny. We were joking and laughing about it.
All right, now, eventually, did you go sit down on the couch and get your phone?
Yes.
Just something.
Well, the suitcase had, for me moving it around, was flopped over. So while it was like that, I thought at that point I had a moment to, I guess, take the time to talk to him while I guess he was not able to get out for a moment.
So you flipped it. You got it on the top, right?
Yeah.
It gets in, but at some point you flip it over. So the zipper is on the bottom.
Well, it was just kind of how I was moving it around that it ended up kind of flopping. So
It was upside down.
yes.
So after you did that, what did you do?
That's when I went over and decided to videotape to just see the gist in it for him to understand that right now I feel safe and right now I have the ability to actually speak to you in a manner that normally I would not have the ability to do.
And you were intoxicated,
Yes.
and you would agree that you said some things you should not,
Yes.
but you realized he could not get out and get at you. Is that fair?
At that moment, yes.
So it goes on for about 10 minutes.
Yes.
You heard it here today, did you not?
Yes.
You heard his voice as he was speaking from the suitcase.
Yes.
That was his voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
And you heard your voice on the video and audio.
Yes.
That was your voice.
Yes.
All those things said by the man were said by George in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
All the words said by the female were said by you in that 2-minute video.
Correct.
Were you intending on showing him the video the next day?
Yes.
At the time or the next day, is it fair to say you don't even remember a videotape?
I do not.
So from what you can tell from watching it, did that refresh your memory about that event?
It did.
Why did you say all that?
I did not hear what the objection was, but she's given a little duper's delight there. Yeah, I just heard objection. What did you say to him? Objection. I believe she can say what she said, right? That's not hearsay. I'm not sure. Or I guess the best evidence is the video. We don't need to hear what she said. We could play the video. Some hard swallows. Is she trying to listen to what's being said? I'm trying to listen. I wish the cameraman would back up. What do you do with your client at this point? They're on the stand. Do you try to encourage them even though you know they're tanking? Because she's not doing well.
Mr. Owens, you may proceed.
All right, I'm talking about just the 2-minute video part that was recorded. Could you just tell the jury what you were feeling, what your feelings were at the time, and then explain that to the jury? You mentioned, you talked about it before. You said he was in that confined space and it was my chance, but do you want to elaborate on that? Or?
Sure. I want you all to know that the majority of the time, am always afraid and always scared.
All right, well, I understand that. Okay, I understand
That did not
But,
sound convincing.
Would it be fair?
Number one, and whatever they practice, I feel like she just misinterpreted it when he was saying talk to the jury, like connect with the jury. If he was giving her that kind of coaching, and then she was like, I want you guys to know. Do you guys, some of you guys are not old enough, that old timey soap opera like Dynasty or Dallas, Who Shot JR? I think she watched too many of those in her youth because she's giving me like one of those villains, or, oh, there's another one. It'll come to me.
To say that you had some anger at that point.
I did.
Would it be fair to say that you wanted to tell him off to some degree?
I just wanted, yes, for him to have a better understanding, which was the whole point of the videos and documentation prior.
And you could tell that he was uncomfortable.
I'm guessing.
And did you
When
want
he
him to
said
feel some uncomfort?
he couldn't breathe, ma'am, you were guessing he was uncomfortable? You knew he was bent up like a pretzel?
I did.
Okay. Now, at some point, you turned off the video.
Yes.
And then we saw a second video, which was approximately 11 minutes later. And you've seen that video. It was played to the jury. It was 22 seconds long.
Yes.
And I don't think you speak in that video. You hear George say Sarah one time.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So between the 2-minute video and the 22-second video is an 11-minute period. Would you tell the jury what happened?
We continued to, I guess, speak to one another, and his tone changed, and I knew the tone, and we ended up, I guess, arguing back and forth with one another, and it was the things that he was saying very much frightened me, and cursing at me and threatening me. And
Did he want you to let him out of the suitcase?
I'm sure so.
Go ahead, tell the jury.
And it got very heated very quickly, and he continued to push on the suitcase. And my fear was that he was going to break out of the suitcase, knowing that it was a broken suitcase. And his hand started to come through. His hand started to come through this way. And so I shook the suitcase. Trying to get his hand to go back in, shaking it, and telling him that, please stop doing this. Please stop doing this to me. Please stop doing this to me.
So his hand actually got out of the suitcase.
Yes.
And you went to the suitcase
Yes.
and shook it.
Yes.
Did that force his hand to go back in?
No.
So you're shaking it. Were you shaking it to try to get the suitcase, his hand back in?
Yes.
How long did you shake it?
I don't know.
But his hand was still out.
Yes.
Was he trying to get out?
Forcefully, yes.
Was he angry at you?
Yes.
Were you in fear?
Always.
If he would have gotten out of the suitcase, what would he have done to you?
Like he used to tell me, he probably would have made me unrecognizable, or I would have lost my life.
Did you lose the grip on the suitcase?
Yes.
Where was the bat in relation to the suitcase?
It was leaning up against the dining room table.
You were worried he was going to make you unrecognizable as he told you previously. So you went upstairs and went to sleep. Didn't call 911. Didn't call Brian. Well, you did call Brian. We don't know what you said, and you don't know what you said.
Right there.
How far was the bat from the suitcase?
3 feet, 2 feet.
Okay. Was his hand still out of the suitcase?
Yes.
And was he getting out of the suitcase?
He very much was trying, yes.
And so what did you do?
For the split second reaction that I had, I happened to see that, and I grabbed the baseball bat and was trying to poke his hand to go back in to please don't break through, please. So I hit his hand.
Did you hit the outside part of his hand?
Yes,
We've seen the photographs of his left hand. Did you cause the bruising there?
I'm guessing yes.
Now, you've seen the bat. It's a youth bat.
Yes, I bought it for my son.
Is this the bat you used?
Yes,
And you said you poked him with it?
yes, I kind of pushed, like I held it with the skinny part here and then
So grip here.
brought it at it. Yes,
You grabbed it with both hands here,
yes,
and then the barrel of the bat, the big part of the bat is here.
correct.
And you thrusted it into the different areas of the suitcase?
I started with his hand, and his hand, he was still trying to get out. He was still trying to do that. So I started to push on the suitcase around it, hoping to have his hand retract and go back inside.
You made those injuries.
I did,
We've seen the photographs.
yes,
We see the bruising. Is that from that bat?
yes,
Eventually, did his hand go back inside from you doing?
yes. Finally, he had subsided and retracted his hand.
So in your mind, did you prevent him from attacking you?
Absolutely. Split-second decision.
Split second decision, ma'am. Split second, I think, is like a quick drop. Zipping somebody up and leaving them is not a split second decision.
Now, once he retracted his hand, do you remember zipping it up some, or what did you do in relation? Because he was upside down, was he not, at that point?
Yes,
At some point, you flipped him back up.
I did.
Tell how that happened.
He wasn't cursing. He wasn't threatening. His hand was inside foremost. There was no more of him trying to break through the suitcase. So I felt safe enough to turn it back over. It wasn't happening anymore.
You went back to the video and the couch,
I did, yes.
and we saw the second video,
Yes,
the 22-second, and he's right side up again,
yes,
and you hear him say, "Sarah."
yes,
Had you left enough room for him to get out? Zipper to zipper.
yes. That's how his hand was trying.
That suitcase has two zippers, doesn't it? And they meet at various places along the line?
Correct.
How much room, when you flipped it over, how much room was between zipper to zipper?
I don't know specifically. I mean, it was enough to where his hand was coming out.
After you had hit him with the bat, was he not trying to get out anymore?
No,
So you didn't re-zip it after you beat his hand back in? You were just hoping he didn't stick it out again?
Did you believe that he could breathe in there?
yes,
Did you ever believe he could die in there?
no, at all.
Were you trying to kill him?
Never.
Did you want to kill him?
I did not.
How is that self-defense?
Did you walk upstairs?
I did, yes.
Why didn't you let him out before you walked upstairs? Were you afraid?
Terrified is more of the word.
As long as he was in the suitcase, he couldn't harm you.
Correct.
Did you want him to calm down?
Yes, I wanted him to stop being angry because I know what it is for him to be angry.
You went upstairs. Where were the dogs?
The dogs ran upstairs with me.
And where did they go?
On the bed.
Did you have the phone with you?
Yes,
I know at some point you called your husband, Brian, did you not?
I did.
Do you recall how long that conversation was?
Not very long.
Can you recall what was said?
I don't remember exactly. No, I don't.
Miss Boone, Sarah Boone, you said that when he was in the suitcase, he was threatening you. Can you tell the jury what he was saying?
I don't know. Am I allowed to curse?
Yes.
But he was going to fucking end me. And that's what made me ask him please to stop doing what he's doing to me. That he was going to, I'm guessing, try his best that night to probably take my life.
But what?
Why are you guessing? Was there no imminent
He's going
sign?
to
Say the
fucking
word.
end me.
Excuse me?
Fucking end me.
And you?
Yes.
Just let me approach the bench.
Yes.
Back at the bench. She's not doing well. Like, you could tell she doesn't feel confident. Nor should she, because this is hot mess stuck. Right? Is it?
All right, members of the jury, it is 2:14. I have a matter that I have to discuss with counsel at this point in time outside of your presence. So I'm going to ask you to retire to the deliberation room. We'll bring you back in as promptly as possible.
Okay, so they're going to let the jury out and then, or they're, dismissing them for a period. They're going to go through the motion in limine because Sarah has finished her testimony on direct. And so now they're going to hear if she has said the overt act and if it meets the scintilla. So I'm going to skip through this and then we'll get to the next part. I'll put the link to the video in case you're wanting to see this part. Okay, we're back on the record. They're
Any
going to
other
bring
exhibits
Sarah
with
back
regard
in.
to Ms. Boone at this point in time, Mr. Owens?
Obviously, the judge has approved them going
Stating
forward.
the reason why we
looked
cannot
at the
ask Ms. Owens
evidence.
or Mr. Owens to continue his inquiry of Ms. Boone and have her return to the witness stand. All right, Mr. Owens, anything else we need to discuss, sir? Sure.
Doesn't look like they enabled closed captioning on this. It's a separate video because they split it up. They being Court TV. Thank you, Court TV. We appreciate you.
Let's go ahead and stand and bring back in our panel.
All right, everybody's coming back in.
State, you recognize our jury.
Yes, sir.
Defense, you recognize our jury.
Yes.
I thank you all can be seated. Members of the jury, again, you could, once seated, raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during our last break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. Mr. Owens, you may continue with your inquiry, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Boone, so I think we left off. You had called your ex-husband?
Yes.
All right. After you called your ex-husband, what happened after that?
I ended up falling asleep.
Okay. Do you remember waking up the next morning?
Yes.
Did you sleep in?
Not intentionally.
Okay. But you didn't get up at 8 o'clock, did you?
No.
Did you wake up closer to noon?
I believe so, yes.
Did you check the time?
No.
Now, did you hear your phone ringing?
Yes, my phone was ringing.
And did you answer it right away?
No.
Do you know approximately how many times it rang before you answered it?
I believe the call was about 3 times.
Did you know who was calling?
I figured it was my ex-husband.
And why would he be calling?
To make sure that I was still on schedule to pick up our son.
At 3 that afternoon?
Correct.
And he goes to school there close by?
Yes.
All right. When you woke up, did you stay in bed for a while?
For a little while, yes.
All right, tell the jury what happened when you got up.
I knew it was my ex-husband calling repeatedly. I didn't answer right away because one of our problems is that he doesn't understand that I'm doing things around the apartment and looking for jobs and so on and so forth. So I inevitably just let it ring, and I sat.
He doesn't understand. Girl, do you understand? You sleep until noon. You got to pick up your son at 3. When were you looking for the jobs?
Or laid in the bed, and I figured that George was downstairs either drinking or looking for jobs, or may have just left. And so eventually I decided to get out of the bed and start moving to go downstairs. I was motivated enough to go downstairs. And when I went downstairs, it was very quiet. So I had the understanding, I believed that he had left. And
Did you check to see if where would he be looking for a job at?
Usually on the couch, he would have my son's laptop, and he and I, which we would share.
Y'all only have the son's laptop,
Correct.
and the TV was not working at this time?
The TV was not there.
So you thought he would be in the living room on the laptop?
Yes.
He was not there?
No.
Where else did you look for him?
I looked on the back porch. I went through the front door to see if my car was there, thinking maybe he had taken my car. I checked the bathroom, and when I was checking the bathroom, I saw the suitcase, and I remembered about the night prior, and I unzipped the suitcase
Let me
and
stop you there.
She froze
You
like
said
she
you
was
were in the
acting.
bathroom when you saw the suitcase or coming out of the bathroom?
know where our bathroom is. I would have to go to the bathroom here, and then when I turned around, I noticed the suitcase, and I remembered.
How did you feel when you saw the suitcase?
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before.
Describe it for the jury.
I guess it was, I was aghast, and I just
Who was
can't describe
aghast?
the feeling.
Bless you.
Terror.
Oh, he blessed somebody. I'll back it up. But you were aghast. I can't describe how I'm feeling. He's not asking you to not describe it. He's asking you to describe it. So come up with something. And there's 2 bathrooms upstairs. There's the powder room downstairs. So she went downstairs to go to the bathroom, and then when she came out, she saw the suitcase. Didn't she have to walk past it? Or she's saying she was so hungover and had so many blackouts, she didn't immediately recognize, oh, that's the suitcase we were playing with. Oh, that's where I left him.
To
Sure.
a certain degree.
I'm sorry, say that again now.
It was terror to a certain degree.
Let's go ahead and stand and bring back in our panel.
I went too far back, but let's see. I can't tap it like I do on my phone and make it go at like 5 seconds tap.
I immediately unzipped the suitcase, and which we would share.
Y'all only have the son's laptop,
Correct.
and the TV was not working at this time?
The TV was not there.
So you thought he would be in the living room on the laptop?
Yes.
He was not there?
No.
Where else did you look for him?
I looked on the back porch. I went through the front door to see if my car was there, thinking maybe he had taken my car. I checked the bathroom, and when I was checking the bathroom, I saw the suitcase, and I remembered about the night prior, and I unzipped the suitcase
Let me
and
stop you there.
She froze
You
like
said
she
you
was
were in the
acting.
bathroom when you saw the suitcase or coming out of the bathroom?
know where our bathroom is. I would have to go to the bathroom here, and then when I turned around, I noticed the suitcase, and I remembered.
How did you feel when you saw the suitcase?
I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that before.
Describe it for the jury.
I guess it was, I was aghast, and I just can't describe it in words, the feeling of remembering. And then he was still in there.
So what did you do?
I immediately unzipped the suitcase, and I was screaming, George, 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 and I was shaking him, and I pulled him out, and I stretched him out flat, and then I began instantly trying to do CPR, and then was trying to look for a pulse or a breath or just anything, and was just screaming his name over and over and over again, and come on, George, and I continued CPR, and I continued CPR, and he was gurgling, and
What color was it?
what color was he?
Yes.
He was purple.
At some point,
That was so weird. What color was he? He wasn't asking you what color you were. And man, we know what color the suitcase is. She's trying to remember her lines. It just is giving acting. Anybody who did any high school theater and you're in like dress rehearsal and you call for a line, you usually freeze. Like you're trying to remember your line and then you like freeze and say line so you can pick it up right back from where you were. Normally we don't do that in conversation. You take it for what it's worth. Oh, Virginia Woolf. That's who she reminds me of. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Do you remember that play? I think they might have made a movie out of it too, but that's what she's given. I was aghast.
Point did you call your ex-husband?
Yes, when he started to gurgle, and I knew that my ex-husband is notorious for bringing my son over in very inopportune times when George is possibly drunk or doing things not appropriate for my son to see. And I just didn't know what to do. It was just a quick knee-jerk reaction. Brian was kind of my go-to person because of my family being deceased, and I don't have anyone else that I can call. And I just wanted to ensure.
What does that mean? He was notorious for bringing him over when George was drunk or doing things inappropriate. Like, did Brian and the son have a key to get in? Like, how did they get in when George was doing things inappropriate? Because if they knocked at the door, I think you could tell George, hey, go upstairs. The only thing inappropriate, dirty mind me, I'm thinking of like masturbating, which I would assume he wouldn't be doing that in the living room and or watching porn. What else could he be down there doing that would impede Lucas or be inappropriate for Lucas?
Sure that he would not bring my son over in the process of all of this at some point.
So you called him.
I called him.
Did you ask him what to do? Or did you just tell him to come over?
I just told him to come over.
Did you tell him that you felt like George was dead?
Yes, I did.
And how far? You said it's 5 minutes from house to house?
Yes.
Did you call him back?
Yes, because he was taking so long. It felt seconds were hours. Yes. I'm still doing CPR at the same time in the process of it.
Ma'am, so you were doing CPR when Brian called, and that's when he gurgled? Because Brian called you. You answered Brian's call, then you called him back. How are you doing CPR? Because the purpose of CPR is to keep blood flowing to the brain. Or to get blood flowing back again, I guess, if it's stopped. But you stopped. You weren't doing it the whole time when he arrived. You sounded surprised on the 911 call when he gurgled, but now you're saying he gurgled before Brian arrived, which is before you called 911. Who was the editor of this story?
I'm doing CPR I don't know how many times.
Did he get there?
Yes.
Did he walk in?
Yes.
Did he walk out?
Yes.
What did he tell you to do?
Call 911.
What did you do?
I called 911.
Is that the recording we've heard here in this trial?
Yes.
You love George?
To this day.
Why do you love him?
George was very passionate. George was a very real person. George was nice to me on the good days. George complimented me. George and I were two bodies with one soul, he and I would always say. I don't believe that I've ever had a connection with anyone like I have with George.
Did you have that connection with your ex-husband?
I do not.
Was it even close?
No.
So you had such a connection with him, you couldn't tell that he really couldn't breathe when he said he couldn't breathe. You thought he was crying wolf. And you don't have that connection with Brian, who you call every time you're in trouble, and you guys have a child in common?
George has some good traits, doesn't he?
Very much.
Did George have some bad traits?
He did.
Did you drink too much?
I did.
Did George drink too much?
Yes.
Tell the jury about George's drinking.
If George was able to, he would drink from sun up to sundown. And me having my son and trying to work and maintain the home and just have a normal life as best as I could, somehow.
Mind you, George is the most recent employed person in the house. He lost his job 2 weeks ago. Sarah had a job in December. We know that from the video. Seems like it was maybe a week in December, of 19. And then prior to that, she had a job for a week in August or maybe June of 2018 when she got arrested for felony DV.
That upset George. And because I had a certain dollar amount from my divorce settlement. At one point, it was from wine we could afford, vodka. So a lot of the times he would take my card, my debit card, and go buy the large, we call them handles, of vodka, which is the big bottle. And sometimes he would finish that all off on his own throughout an entire period of a day into an evening. That's honestly where I thought that he was going to be that morning when I came downstairs, because he's notorious for just automatically already being outside from drinking all the time.
All right. And you said you have an alcohol problem. George has an alcohol problem.
Yes.
How did George's drinking adversely affect you?
It would debilitate my ability to help him the way that I was always trying to help him, because it would be one good day, a day of survival, and then it would be another day where I'm having to peel him off of me and call 911.
Why would he get that way? Tell us his pattern as it relates to drinking, and then
Object.
Approach.
I'm going to say relevance. What is the relevance of his pattern? And Sarah being his caregiver, cruise director. She's swallowing hard and breathing shallowly. Or shallowed. She's exhibiting shallowed breathing. Deep breath. So she oxygenated herself. Now she's making eye contact with someone. She's not looking at the jury. Why not look over at them? Give them a puppy dog. Because I'm guaranteeing you they're looking at you, girl. And possibly over at Kranick and the men at the bench. Betty Broderick, Diane Downs. What did Tupac say? You got to be careful about who you F with and who you don't F with. I wonder what they had in common besides drinking. What do you think they talked about? Or she just wanted to berate him? I'm gonna have to go replay this. Oh, when I edit, I need to know what high school she went to. I have to do some sleuthing. We're gonna get it all out of our system because December 2nd, we're gonna put a sock in it. Or whatever that expression is. We're gonna be done. Put a fork in it.
Objections overruled for now.
Okay, okay. I guess it's relevant, his pattern.
you were together 3.5 years.
Yes.
Is there times when he would get to a state of intoxication where he would get violent against you?
Quite often.
Judge, can I approach the witness?
Yes, as long as you show it to the state first, please.
I'm going to show you defense exhibit for identification P. It's 2 photographs. Could you look at those photographs and see if you recognize those?
I do.
Those 2 pictures of your body,
Yes.
did they show injuries to your body?
Yes.
Were those injuries caused by George Torres?
Yes.
Are those photographs a fair and accurate depiction of the injuries you sustained at the hands of George Torres?
On this occurrence, yes.
Do you remember this occurrence?
I don't. It was so often.
You don't remember a
Why
specific...
did you say on this
specific date?
occurrence?
I don't.
But you're sure that that's you?
Yes.
Is that the injuries that he... What's the injury to the ribcage?
I don't remember specifically. These may be the pictures. So,
Is there a date? Is there
when
some
we used to go to
metadata?
His brother's house. One of his brothers and his.
Objection. Non-responsive.
Sustained.
Oh.
Answer the
You know what
question he
happened
asked.
to, did George cause these injuries?
Yes.
All right. Were y'all both drinking at that time?
I don't remember on this escape.
Judge, I'd like to move this exhibit into evidence.
All right, what was pre-marked as P will be received into evidence without objection as Defense Exhibit 2.
So we only have her word. We know her memory is shaky. She doesn't know the date. Apparently, there's no metadata of when this happened, when the injuries photographed happened.
Thank you.
And I need to ask permission to publish it.
Yes, sir. You may do so.
Right, this is an actual justice.
Looks like I think there's a wheel on the top where you can use to. There you go.
Ms. Boone, is that you?
Yes.
Are those injuries to your arm?
Yes.
Don't those look like grab marks?
Yes.
And during the
Like
second
someone trying
incident,
to hold her back?
Yes.
Is that an injury or bruise to your ribcage area
Yes.
and your arm?
Yes.
I'll show you identification, defense identification Q, see if you recognize that photograph.
Yes.
Is that your thigh?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember this incident?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury what happened?
I wanted to take my dogs for a walk and get off at the back porch.
Were y'all drinking?
Yes. And he was upset that I would rather go walk my dogs than sit there and continue to drink. So he slapped my thigh as hard as he possibly could and said, "You're not going anywhere." And it was a good smack on my thigh.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the wound that you suffered as a result of George Torres slapping you on the thigh?
Yes.
Judge, I'd like to offer Q in evidence.
Okay. What was pre-marked as Q will be received into evidence without objection as Defense 3.
Judge, can I publish?
You may, sir.
And for the jury's sake, is this the photograph you just mentioned?
Yes.
So, as a former person who drank a lot, you also get bruises when you drink a lot because it's a blood thinner, the alcohol, and they're drinking lots of alcohol. So she could have ran into a table and gotten it. Yeah. Okay. She could have run into a table, a door. She could have done it to herself. Do you know what I mean? So bruises in and of themselves don't necessarily mean that someone else gave them to her. I'm sure you guys know, but they're not offering any like data. They didn't have a forensic digital person run through Sarah's phone on the defense side. The state did. I'm not sure why they're not asking like for more verification of these photos, but I guess the jury's meant to infer like nobody else came in to testify about the validity of these photos, so take it for what it's worth type deal. It's giving Amber Heard vibes, except Amber Heard couldn't get this far.
Identification S. See if you recognize that photograph.
I do.
Is that your hand?
Yes.
Is that your blood on your hand?
Yes, it is.
Is that you standing, looks like in a room with flip-flops?
This is in the kitchen at Brian's house.
Okay, what happened there?
So George was very drunk, and I wanted to leave, and he's notorious for taking my car keys and putting them around his neck and my phone in his crotch area and telling me to come get them. And I really wanted to leave because of how drunk, and I knew
Does she
the escalation
know
of
what
his anger. I
notorious
didn't want to be there when it
means?
was at its peak. So I tried to take my keys from around him because he kept taunting me to take my keys, come get your keys. And so I attempted to go and get my keys. And so he ended up getting a butcher knife. And I had an opportunity to call Brian to come and help me, to please come pick me up, to come get me. And of course, he brings my son with him. And so I'm in the parking lot asking
Why, of
Brian
course.
to please help me get my car keys away from him. And there's neighbors, and it's a scene at this point. And George comes to the doorway of my townhome wielding the butcher knife, saying that, do I curse?
Yeah.
That no one's going to take her fucking keys. No one's going to fucking come into this house. And he's waving the butcher knife. And I walked up to him, and I just wanted to leave. And my little son, who was, I believe, 7 or 8 at the time, just is screaming, give mommy her keys, give mommy her keys, let her leave. Brian was even trying to negotiate with him, saying, please, you know she'll come back, just let her leave. So I went up to try and take the keys from him, and he was pulling on them, and I ended up pulling harder. And he pulled them back again to try to pull me in the house, and I pulled them even harder, and it ripped my finger. And at one point,
So I wish they would give time here at least, because we know in one of the body cam videos, I think the last body cam footage before he was murdered, there were keys, and she accused George of having the keys. The police came over. Then she said, oh, Brian has a spare set of keys at his house. So then she called Brian, and Brian came over with the keys. Yeah, I just don't see Brian arguing with George while George is wielding a butcher knife. Like, I just feel like Brian would have more sense than that if George, in fact, was wielding a butcher knife.
I had lost the fingernail, and the tip of my pinky was severely gashed.
Judge, I'd like to offer this to the evidence.
Okay. What was it pre-marked as, counsel?
Just like S, not of course.
A gash from the butcher knife?
What was
or
pre-marked
from
as
the
defense
keys?
S will be received into evidence without.
Okay.
What was pre-marked as P will be received into evidence without objection is defense exhibit 2.
Oh my God, did I go too far back?
Ms. Boone, will the jury say, is this the picture you're referring to? Is that the nail, or is it on still on?
I believe so, yes.
I'm showing you a composite identification L, 2 photographs. Can you look at those photographs and tell the jury what they are?
I wanted to eat, and while he was drinking, went and made myself, as quickly as I possibly could, a microwave bowl of, I believe it was broccoli and cheddar soup. And I didn't get it out enough time, and he came up behind me and he slapped it out of my hand. And it was a 2nd-degree burn. I went to the hospital for it.
Are those fair and accurate depictions of the injury and burn to your thigh?
Yes.
We'd like to offer identification L in evidence.
Okay. What was pre-marked as L will be received into evidence without objection as defense 5.
Permission.
Yes, sir.
You had to go to the hospital as a result of these injuries to your thigh?
Yes.
Okay.
Extremely painful.
Is that a depiction of the burn?
Yes.
Is that your thigh?
Oh my God, yes.
And your knee?
Yes.
I saw an oily spot. Did you guys see a burn, a 2nd-degree burn?
Did you look at those all 4 before commenting? This is a longer story, isn't it? Go ahead and tell.
So George stabbed me in my leg. I almost bled to death.
All right, well, let's go back and explain what led up to that.
I thought it would be nice to cook a nice steak dinner. We don't have 2 nickels to rub together, so I thought it would be special to make a steak dinner and baked potato and go above the normal whatever's left over in the refrigerator. And
Okay. She said baked potato right there, right? Okay. And she just said she almost bled to death. Like, let's just keep playing, because I mean, yeah, she needs to quit playing. We're going to play the rest of this.
so I spent a lot of time doing that. And George is drinking the entire time and on the back porch.
You were drinking as well, were you not?
I was drinking. He was on the back porch while I was in the house and I was cooking. And it was one of those where maybe if I start making dinner now, it will be over at a particular time and we can go to bed at a reasonable time. And I even put it in the bedroom and had a movie set up for us to watch. So it would just kind of be dinner in bed. And then he came upstairs and saw that I had made the steak dinner, and I don't know how to describe how drunk he was, but It definitely was not George. And had him come lay on the bed, sit on the bed, and, put the, I got the dogs out, and I presented him with the steak dinner, and sat down and was getting ready to start playing the movie. And he starts being very rude and cursing the steak and finding fault with it. And then, I'm having to encourage him to eat. If you want me to cut it up for you, I will cut it up for you. Did you want some more sour cream for your potato? What can I do to make you happier? And then he started to pull on me and kept saying that, that I just want to fuck you on the steak and fuck you on the potatoes. And I took offense to that, and I kept trying to encourage him to eat. I started to eat.
Is this just him really drunk and saying nonsense?
I don't know why he was so angry that day. I don't know if it's because I got steak. I don't know. Most of the time I don't know the reason why. I couldn't take it anymore. Obviously, I was not going to be able to eat. So I started to crawl off of the bed to leave, just the bedroom. And he told me again that I'm not going anywhere, and he stabbed me in my leg, and it crunched. You could hear a noise that it made, and blood just started to come out of my leg, just like a fountain. So I got off of the bed. He's starting to freak out, and grabbed me a towel. I got a wet towel, and I'm sitting here holding the towel, and it's increasingly becoming even more and more saturated by the minute. It's just minutes. So I'm going through towels, and I said, George, I think I need to go to the hospital. This is not stopping to bleed. This is serious. And he got on his knees and begged me, please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. Please don't call the police. And inevitably, he went and got my car keys and put them around his neck again, and my cell phone. So I was not able to call anyone, and I wasn't able to leave in my car. So I figured I would just go downstairs, and I'm just going to go downstairs. And I had propped my foot up on the glass table that we had, and blood is just everywhere. Blood is everywhere. I can't keep up with the amount of blood, and I'm starting to feel very weak and really weird. And he comes downstairs, and he's still begging me, please don't call 911. Please don't call 911. I kept telling him, there's something, this is serious. This is something. Because he knew that he would probably get arrested or something bad would happen to him. So I couldn't take him anymore. He was just all over me, and I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding very badly, and he's having me try to.
Even in this retelling, she is angry. Just as a former battered person, you normally don't get angry like this in retelling your victimization. Because for a long while, you don't even feel like you deserve to be angry, right? You've been told, look what you made me do. And so that is more kind of top of mind. But also, you can call 911 without the police coming. You could say, I have an emergency and I'm bleeding. I'm not sure exactly how it happened or whatever. The police don't have to be involved. I feel like she had weaponized the police so much that perhaps anything that happened, he would fear. She would call them. But we saw all the videos. He looked like he was waking up from a nap every time they showed up. None of this rings true. Also, are there medical records that are going to enter into evidence? Like, what did you tell the charge nurse when you checked in? Or what is it when they do the intake? The triage nurse. Like, where are the receipts, ma'am?
To console him. And I kept telling him, please, I need to call 911, please. And I said, okay, just give me a moment. And I crawled upstairs to my son's bathroom, which is the furthest bathroom away from everything. And I remember holding onto the sink, and I looked into the mirror, and my lips were blue, and I knew I needed help. I needed help. And he came upstairs looking frantic for me, calling my name. And then I turned to him and I said, please, I'm going to die. I've lost a lot of blood. There's something wrong. My lips are blue. Please, we don't have to call an ambulance. If you could just take me, I'll drive whatever I can do, please, to go to the hospital for this. And he said that before anything happens, I had to concoct a story in order for him to not be arrested or be in trouble when we did inevitably get to the hospital. So I'm sitting there with this blood-soaked towel with blue lips, trying to come up with a story of what I can tell them when I go down there so he's not in trouble, and telling him that it's okay. And I came up with the story of that we were sword fighting silly after drinking with our steak knives, and he accidentally punctured my leg. And from there,
how did you get to the hospital?
originally, he told me to drive, and because of the amount of alcohol that he drank, and I couldn't. So he got into the driver's seat and drove me, and the entire time he's barking at me to make sure that I get the story straight. We're sword fighting, okay? We were drunk,
Did you go to
being
the
silly.
hospital?
Yes.
All right, and did
This was, I'm assuming, either 2018 or 2019, since that's when they were together. They couldn't get an Uber? You gonna let a drunk, violent man drive you to the hospital?
you get
Sounds
treated there?
sus.
Yes. I was bloody, and
All right, let me show you the photograph. I'll show you this.
Yeah.
All right, is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury to your leg?
yes, I had to go to 2 different hospitals for it.
And you lied to medical personnel?
What does it have to do with the picture?
Yes, they brought in sheriffs and everything.
Was it consistent with, they brought in sheriffs? Did you have to answer to the law enforcement officers?
Yes,
Did you stick with the story that you and George had agreed?
I did.
Judge, I'd like to offer this positive exhibit.
Okay. What was pre-marked as K will be received into evidence without objection as Defendant 6. You may publish, sir.
Thank you. And is this you at the hospital?
Yes,
Is this the stab wound to your leg?
yes, my foot.
Is this a close-up of the stab wound?
Yes.
And did you hurt your foot?
No, due to the injury, I had other problems with the surgery.
But you eventually recovered?
Eventually, yes,
Do you have a scar to that effect?
I do.
Judge, could you step down and show me?
Mr. J?
Okay.
You may. There's a lock, sir. Out.
All right, I don't know how that's to be this judge because we've got this ball.
They can probably see it in there.
Is this the injury here? It's up there's an niche.
He looks like he's about to put a slip around Cinderella. You got the wrong sister.
All right, I'm showing you identification T. You recognize that photograph?
I do. Yes,
All right. Looks like you got an injury to your lip and to your face. Do you call this event?
I was trying to sleep, and
Have y'all been drinking?
I'm sure.
There's
I
a
know
bear
that he had
poop
been
in the
drinking. This
woods.
is one of the instances where I would go upstairs to try to go to sleep. And
But y'all drank together a lot, did you not?
sometimes, yes,
But there were times where he wanted to stay up and continue to drink and you wanted to go to bed.
many times, yes.
You were done, he was not.
Correct.
Was that one of these times?
Yes,
So tell us what happened.
I'm sleeping in the bed, sound asleep, and he comes into the room and grabs me by my hair a lot of the times. And from here, he scratched me from trying to grab me, and then grabbed my hair and pulled me off of the bed, and then raked my face across the carpet.
See that language? It's really broad and vague. He would do something a lot of the time. We're talking about this time, ma'am. In this instance, in this picture that we're discussing. Not like random, on a Tuesday when the moon was in the west. What happened in this specific incident?
These are carpet burns.
To your lips?
Yes,
What about to the, looks like the eyebrow area?
that's from where from grabbing me, scratched me, and got a hold of me by my hair.
Why was he mad at you?
Because I wasn't downstairs with him
He wanted you to be drinking with him?
all the time.
All right, I'd like to introduce identification to you now.
What was pre-marked as T will be received into evidence without objection as Defense.
I don't buy that. If he could drink without her, that's more alcohol for him. Why is he going to be violent with her because she's not drinking? That sounds like a stretch, ma'am. And why would you be saying no to the liquor? We seen your videos, girl.
Exhibit 7.
All right, you see the injury between the eyes and the injury to the lip,
Yes,
as you described?
yes, and then the blood going down my eye, yes.
Showing you what has been marked as Exhibit for defense exhibit. You? Go ahead.
This was the first time that I ever called 911. George and I had gone to a bar across the street within walking distance, and at some point, I asked a guy, or he asked me, somehow or another, it was over a cigarette. And he left, and I didn't know where he went, and the bartender said, oh, he left. He took your car and he left. So,
Why would he do that?
well,
How
I
would
found
the
out when I got home,
bartender-
it was
No, the
because
car
I
was
spoke to
gone.
another man. And so I paid the tab and I walked home, and he's sitting on the back porch with the handle of vodka. And I was walking on eggshells and terrified and kind of treaded lightly when I came in, and he acted all natural and fine. So I didn't know the reason why that he had just gotten up and left with my car. So then he calls me a whore, and then he calls me a slut, and then he calls me a cunt, and gets up and pushes me. And he pushed me with both of his hands so hard that we have this little area where our washer and dryer is, and there are metal doors that are on it. And he pushed me into the metal door. And then I fell back, and he got his knees on top of me on my arms here, so I was pinned down, and was starting to strangle me and hit my head up against the metal closet over and over and over and over and over it again, and calling me a fucking whore, and you're such a slut, and fuck you, and everything. And my tongue was flopping out of my mouth, and I thought I was going to bite my tongue off. And because of the amount of noise I guess my head was making on the metal door, he slid me down and got back on me, and then started to strangle me again. And it was on, we have carpet, but it's like concrete. And I was able to get my arms out from underneath and grab his throat and get him off of me. So I got him off of me, and I pushed him off, and he came up and he goes, you fucking bitch. And he stomped my face. And the next thing I know, I woke up. I obviously
Did you get
blacked
knocked
out.
down?
I'm obviously, I guess, yes. And he was passed out on the floor. And I woke up frantic looking for my phone, and I immediately called 911.
Okay. The police arrived on that incident.
Yes, they did.
Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained as a result of him kicking you?
Stomping, yes.
A stomp?
Stomp. All I saw was
Okay, so she's changed her story. If this is the first time she's called 911, it's when she strangled him on the stairs. He was trying to get away from her, go upstairs. She reached up and grabbed him by his throat and started strangling him. He could not breathe, so he kicked her in the face to get her off of him. It was on the stairs. Even she said it was on the stairs, like in the police body cam footage. That was the very first one when the cop was like, tell me, Sarah, I need more details. And she has her hair, it's like very bleachy at the top, and she's like, I think she has on a green shirt. She's sitting on the curb. So this is a new version of it, but I believe we haven't seen the body cam yet. I mean, we have now as of Sunday, October 27th, but when she's done this testimony, we haven't seen it yet, because this is when the motion in limine was addressed, and she was, I guess, certified to talk about battered wife and enter into evidence negative things about George. So we haven't seen all of that yet, but keep that in mind, because she's lying. I mean, not that you're surprised.
What's his heel?
This is it. Yes, that this be identification you be admitted today.
What was pre-marked as you will be received without objection is defense 8.
Was that the next day, or is that a few days later?
That's a couple of days later.
And that's the bruising?
No swelling.
Yes.
Now, the police were called, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll go through the details. Do you recognize that? You have to see it.
Yes.
Can you identify that picture?
Yes.
Is that your leg?
Yes.
And was like the injury to your knee?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the injury you sustained to your knee?
Yes.
Do you remember how that happened?
Yes.
Can you tell the jury?
I was trying to get off of the back porch, and he grabbed me and pushed me, and it was a rock or a really sharp piece of mold from him grabbing me and pushing me onto the ground, and I guess I just happened to hit my knee just right on
A
it.
sharp
Whatever it
piece of
was.
what?
Y'all drinking?
Malt?
Why did he push you?
Because I wanted to get off of the back porch.
He wanted to stay out there?
Yes.
He wanted you to be with him? But what's the deal with him wanting to be with you all the time?
Insecurity, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Did you do your best to please him?
And then some, yes.
All right, I'd like to
Can't do more than your best, Sarah.
What was pre-marked
Like,
as
you
B will
can't
be
give
received
more
into
than
evidence without
100%.
objection is defense 9.
Now, was Ben, were you treated for this, or did you self-treat? Kill the jury now.
No, that was just, I got the first aid kit that I have for my son and I just cleaned it up.
You what?
I said I got the first aid kit that I had for my son and I just cleaned it up and put a Band-Aid on it.
Bart, I'm showing you identification W. Defense identification.
That could have been an accident any drunk person had.
This is a photograph of my arm.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of your arm with some type of injury?
Yes,
Do you remember this event?
multiple times, yes.
Well, we're talking about this isolated.
You remember it multiple times?
You sustained.
Yep.
Who injured your arm?
George Torres,
You remember this event?
yes.
Did you tell the jury about it?
This was one of the instances where I would try to pull away from him, and I don't know how my arm started to do this, but from him pulling from this way, how hard he would pull, with me trying to struggle to get away from him, it would leave these bloody under the skin splotches.
So he wouldn't hit you sometimes, he would just grab you and pull you.
Yes, from me trying to pull away from him, that's the point of it doing this, from me pulling away from him.
Now, this is.
Or he's trying to hold you from hitting him.
Intoxicated.
I mean, I can't say for sure, but yes, but whenever it would happen, yes, I would be drinking.
Identification W in evidence.
What was pre-marked as W will be received into evidence without objection as defense exhibit 10.
All right, it doesn't look like a wound or anything.
Objection commentary.
Sustained.
Tell me. I'm sorry. Tell me.
Yeah, you're not a medical
It's just from
professional.
the grip, him losing his grip?
Yes, it would be from me pulling away from him and whatever under the skin it was that it was disturbed from the amount of pressure of him holding and then pulling from me would create those on my arms.
Okay. I'm going to show you defense exhibit X for identification.
Yes.
And what is that picture of?
This is a picture of my ear, the side of my head.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction
Yes.
of the injury you sustained by George Torres?
Yes.
Do you remember this event?
Yes.
Were you drinking?
I at the time was not drinking them.
On this event, you had not consumed any alcohol.
I mean, I may have earlier. This was another, I was in the bed trying to sleep.
Where was George?
Downstairs drinking.
All right, and so you were wanting to go to bed, and he wanted you to stay down there with him?
Yes, I was in the bed.
All right, tell the jury what happened. What is in it?
I believe this was the instant where I was in the bed and I used to barricade the door with our dresser.
Why didn't you just lock it?
All of the locks were broken in my home.
Or
They were from George taking them, including my son's. At one point, I could seek refuge in my son's room, but he broke that one as well.
And you didn't
Tell
replace
me-
them?
Explain how that happens. Tell the jury. We can't read your mind.
George wants me, which he has told me numerous times, that I am to be with him at all times and doesn't like to be apart from me or away from me. So whenever it was, even just to go to the bathroom sometimes, he would go with me. And you have to understand, I have a 2-story, 900 square foot townhome, so there's not many places to go. So it just happened to be that it would be upstairs or downstairs, or I'd be in a particular room or not. So inevitably.
Did you want some time away?
Yes, I did. Even if it were just him upstairs or me downstairs or vice versa. So I rarely got to sleep. This was one of the instances because I had barricaded the door with our, 200-pound dresser that we had. And then I had my nightstand barricaded up against the bed, to where it was even more difficult from the prior times of him breaking in. And he would, I don't know how he would ever do it, but he would get himself in through the crack of the door that he would be able to wedge the dresser in the nightstand. And he pulled me out of the bed and told me I was going to die. And I believe it's this incident, and punched me, and
Punched you in the side of the head?
yes, in
Was
my
it-
temple and everything.
Was it an open fist or a closed fist, or do you know?
It was fully closed.
like identification X introduced in evidence.
What was pre-marked as X will be received without objection as Defense Exhibit 11.
This exhibit. That's you? Did you get any treatment for that? Medical treatment?
I know the police came, but I don't remember. I remember it hurt for a good solid 2 weeks after that.
Was this one of the incidents when the police were called?
Yes.
Now, is this photograph, which is identification Y,
Yes.
was that the date of the incident? The date of this event?
No, it happened prior. I mean, but this picture that was taken of the.
This picture was taken, would have been taken February 24th of 2020?
Yes.
And do you recognize that as your close-up facial?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of how your face looked on February 23rd of 2020?
Yes.
What's the significance of this?
Again, because I was sleeping, George was upset with me and came in with a metal curtain rod and bent it and snapped it in half and then crunched me in the forehead with it. And it started to beat the furniture that was in the bedroom. This is probably a good month before or after it had happened, before I really believed that I should have gotten stitches, but I was not allowed to go to the hospital.
Judge, I'd like the identification Y introduced in evidence.
It was a gash.
What was pre-marked as Y will be received into evidence without objection as Defense 12.
Was that the same curtain rod that you mentioned in the 2-hour interrogation video?
Which they didn't take us.
So petty. Why didn't she just say yes? There's no reason for them to take it. It had nothing to do with that night, ma'am. Do you think they're just looking for any and all evidence of fights? I mean, even if it happened 2 weeks ago to a month ago, are you saying that's what made you not let him out of the suitcase? Because that's a different story.
Photographs that were taken, I guess within the crime scene? Was the crime scene investigator that came out and took photographs?
I don't remember who it was, but yes, someone did on the day of the incident.
Was it different from the extraction, the phone extraction expert? Was it somebody different?
I think.
But this wound right here?
Yes. And remember, that's a month later.
And then on that same date, same time, they took this photograph as well, which is identification R.
Yes.
All right, and what does that do?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat, and
Is that an injury to your hand?
it's a bruise.
Was that taken
Is the bruise not an injury?
23rd, 2020, when the investigators came out on
February 24th, I believe.
February 24th? I'd like to introduce identification R. Yeah.
What was pre-marked as Defense R will be received into evidence without objection as Defense 13.
All right, this is not a great photograph, copy of a copy. But February 24th of 2020, is that what you were wearing? Is that you?
Yes.
And there's a discoloration up here of your palm. You see that?
I do.
Is that from you jabbing him with a baseball bat?
Sustained.
You know how you suffered that injury?
I believe it's from holding the baseball bat.
Can you poke him with it?
Yes, trying to get his hand back in.
Just like 5 photographs. Can you look at those? See if you recognize them?
Yes.
And are those fair and accurate depictions
Yes.
as a composite of the events that occurred in relation to George Torres and your TV?
Yes.
All right, are those stills of a videotape that you took?
Yes.
And is that videotape, was it on your phone?
Yes.
So when law enforcement sees the phone, they would have access to this video?
I believe so, yes.
And tell me about it.
Lucas likes to watch cartoons and play video games on the big screen, this is the big screen. And I would have to call Brian to come over sometimes to help me figure out the Fire Stick and whatever platform or whatever it was that Lucas was trying to view his shows and video games on. And I don't remember how George found out that Brian had come over. I believe because it was actually fixed. He knew that I didn't know how to do it. Found out that Brian had come over to fix it, and
Was he jealous of Brian?
I don't know if he was jealous of Brian. I think that he had a fear that I somehow would go back to Brian. So I think by Brian helping me with things for Lucas, he just didn't want him to be interacting with me at all.
So Lucas wasn't over here this day.
No.
Brian wasn't over here this day.
He may have been, I can't remember when he actually fixed the television for Lucas.
But y'all were drinking this day.
I know he was for a fact, yes.
Chances are you were.
Probably so, yes.
Okay.
I would agree.
So how did it end up badly?
He accused me of sucking Brian's dick and told me that he was going to break my face with a bat, that he was going to make me unrecognizable to my son with the bat, and then told me that he's going to destroy my fucking television, and then I was going to remove it from the apartment. And if I didn't, I was going to be, again, unrecognizable to my son.
So did he grab the bat?
Absolutely. He already had that in his hand, and he told me that I had to videotape it.
Did you videotape it voluntarily?
No.
All right, but there is a video, but I'm going to go ahead and ask Judge if I can introduce this identification of these 5 photographs into evidence.
Okay. Is it O or N? All right, what was pre-marked as O will be received into evidence without objection as defense 14.
All right, so these are some stills from the video. This was George. That particular name over that.
Dad's telling me that I'm going to take the television out once he destroys it.
He wanted you to take the television out.
Dad, or I was going to help him, but either way, I was taking it apart and removing it.
And what is this picture of?
In the process of him destroying my television.
While you're videotaping.
Correct.
Is that the result?
No. After that, he ripped it off of the TV stand.
Did you later pass out?
Yep, like he usually does.
What's he drinking in?
Those look so staged.
Vodka and something ashore.
I'm showing you identification N. Would you recognize that?
Can you let it go? In the stairwell?
Or was that photograph taken by a crime scene?
Correct.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of your living room and stairwell?
Yes.
And let's try to introduce this as identification 9 as an exhibit. Can you tell us a little bit about this room?
This is my living room. This wall that we have over here with the hearts, that's where we would display all of our artwork. We were in the process of taking it down to add more, so he could continue to be entertained. The bookshelf over here is my son's bookshelf with all of his toys and little guns and musical instruments. He's got a little karaoke machine down here, his guitar. The stand right here with a red bucket on it, that was the television stand. And then my back porch area and the dog bed here.
And it looks like in front of the bookshelf at the foot of the stairs is that doggy.
It's a baby gate, but my dogs would wander upstairs sometimes and go to the bathroom sometimes when we couldn't get them out. So I would, at nighttime, or whenever we weren't home, make sure that they didn't go upstairs. And plus Penny was blind,
There's an allegation that you pushed George down the stairs,
apparently,
or got him in a suitcase upstairs and pushed him down the stairs.
supposedly.
Is that her?
Absolutely not.
She doesn't know.
Is that bookshelf disturbed in any way?
No, nor the plant next to it.
I'm showing you composite 2 photographs, identification M. Did you look at those 2 and see if you recognize them?
Yes, this is me sitting on the back porch with my dogs. And as you can see that we are both drinking.
All right, who's taking the picture?
I'm guessing George's, or maybe it's one that Lucas wasn't on here, so it had to be George.
How can you tell y'all are drinking?
Because there's a cup here and then he has a beer.
And there's 2 dogs. There's one sitting next to you. Who's that?
That's Penny. She's the blind dog. I used to have to pick her up to put her somewhere so she would stay there because she
Objection, relevance.
moved from my marital home to the townhome. So most of the time Penny would be close or next to me.
Who's next to them?
This is little guard dog Tess. She was the deaf dog. And this is the fence here.
Well, I'll show them.
Okay. But this is Tess and then this is deaf, blind. Penny and Tess.
All right, and then the second one.
This is Tess on the back porch taking a nap. She was never far from me.
All right, when George was sober, how did he treat the dogs?
Nice. I don't know if he was a pet person,
Were
but I mean, he was nice. If I needed him to feed them, he would feed them.
there times when
How are you with somebody for years and don't know if they're a
when
pet
he was threatening to
person?
harm the dogs?
I feel like that's first date conversation.
One of the worst threats was Penny being blind. He would actually leave the gate open in the back. He wouldn't threaten me to do it. He would actually do it on nights that I had to go up to sleep or I fled the night before or something. And would tell me that he hoped that I would come back and find her bloated body dead in the pond across the way from our townhome. And Tess was notorious if I wasn't there to go look for me and would say that he would hope that I would have to scrape up her dead body from the street that was out in front of our apartment complex.
Why was George upset with you? Why was he threatening to harm the dogs?
Anything that he could get to try to have some type of hold over me.
Control.
And he knew I loved my dogs very much, especially that they were handicapped.
Were they afraid of him?
Yes.
You
Penny
love
would
them
hear his
that
voice
much?
and instantly go underneath the dining room
they
table
were
that we had. Tess was always
disabled.
fractious and very, very quick with his movements, but she was never far away. They never showed their teeth. They never growled.
And there we have the word fractious again. I need to look this up because I feel like it's angry. It's not like a good thing. Fractious. Irritable and quarrelsome. Typically of children. They fight and squabble like fractious children. So the music was fractious or made her fractious. And then Tess was fractious. So irritable and quarrelsome. So the music that she talked about during the interrogation made her irritable and quarrelsome. So perhaps that's when the fighting started, when he wanted to listen to the music. She's an odd duck.
Tess would occasionally bark, but it was very rare. And he used to kick them and just.
For what reason would he kick them?
Penny would try to find me because she's blind.
Especially in mind the dog.
Sustained.
I'd like to move identification and evidence.
Any objection? Was pre-marked as M will be received into evidence without objection as defense 16.
Right.
Did you see that smirk?
This is again is our back porch, and this is the fence that I made for the dogs to have a little bit extra space. Penny is next to me. She's the blind dog, and then Tess is down here at guarding the gate.
Are these fake rabbits? Is that?
Yes. I used to call my son when he was a baby. He was my bunny rabbit.
Overruled.
He
Yeah,
was
why
my
is
bunny
it-
rabbit. So I used to collect bunny rabbits, and so I have rabbits here and there throughout my house and in my little garden area.
Or this is the alcohol you're consuming?
Yes.
And this is a close-up of which one?
This is Tess. She's the deaf dog.
How old were these dogs at that time, 2020?
Gosh, maybe 9, maybe 10.
Yes.
Some kind of sidebar. Maybe they did pass. Rest in peace, Tess and the other one.
All right, members of the jury, it's 4:03. By show of hands, would you like to take an afternoon break at this point in time? Okay, of course, sees no hands. We may have to work also a little bit past 5 o'clock, maybe going between 5:45 and 6 this evening. I know juror third from the right, you may have to make a phone call as to that. Does anyone have any concerns about working a little bit later today till 6 o'clock? If you have those concerns, please raise your hand at this time. All right, court sees no hands. Ma'am, are you in a position to step out to see if you can get assistance with childcare, or is that not an option for today?
I'm actually all set for today. She's already doing that.
You are? Okay, all right, excellent, very good. Thank you very much, I appreciate you all. With that, Mr. Owens, you may continue.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
I think one of the jurors raised their hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, juror fifth from the right.
Are we going to get a break before the 5:45 mark? Because if not, then yes, we'll get a break.
Then I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and take it at this time. We'll give you all a 15-minute recess. It's 4:04. Hang on, don't leave yet. I got to tell you a couple things. It's 4:04. We'll see you back here at 4:20. Same instruction as before. Please don't conduct any independent investigation or research as the person, places, things, or charge involved, and don't have any discussions amongst yourselves or anyone else. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Thank you very much.
Jury exiting.
I love me some Judge Kranek. Zaddy Kranek. Okay, we're going to skip ahead.
Y'all can be seated. Thank you. Boone needs to use the facilities. We might as well take advantage of that at this time. All right, court will be in recess till 4:20. Thank you.
James Owens for the booth.
County Henderson, Sheriff. Medical Cat Service.
All right. Ms. Boone, let's go ahead and bring you back up to the witness stand, please.
Judge, we're going to try to go to 6 today.
Yes, sir, that's the plan.
I'm sorry.
Motion carries. You said about 20.
All right, we're ready to bring back in our jury.
Yes?
All right, let's do it. Oh, Judge.
Hold on.
Oh, she's up there. I'm sorry. I thought it was.
They didn't get her more water. I'm sure the manager's going to hear about that.
State, to recognize our jury.
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, to recognize our jury. All right, y'all can be seated. Thank you. Again, members of the jury, if you could. Oh, wait. Can the parties approach for a moment?
If I was a juror, this would drive me nuts. I'd be like, we just got back in here. You guys weren't ready for us. Why did you bring us in?
All right, members of the jury, again, if you could just raise your hands to confirm that you complied with the court's instructions during the last break. Record reflect all hands have been raised. All right, with that, Mr. Owens, you may continue your inquiry, sir.
Just based on the court statements, identification A, this is one of the photographs that we introduced. Is this image here?
Yes.
And then this is your living room. This is identification C, the blow up.
Yes.
I love how they're pretending because everything is on the bookshelf. Doesn't mean it could have been
TV.
knocked off and put back.
Identification E. Is that your arm?
Yes.
Identification F. Is that your knife wound? Identification G. Is this the curtain rod?
Yes.
Identification H. This is the eye. Identification I. See your face shot?
Yes.
The lip, the eyebrow. Identification B. And this is the back patio, the dog.
Yes. Camel bounce a little bit. Spin. Let me go back to the night earlier in the evening when I think y'all may have been out on the back patio and you had suggested to George to call the children, but then did he call his brother or his brother called George? Do you remember? George called his brother.
Okay. And you made a statement about telling something. Explain that to the jury.
I told him to tell his brother about you choking me the other day. This is a separate choking incident. We had been drinking, and I wanted George to tell him, but he didn't tell him, so I said it in the background, so he would be aware.
What did you tell him?
Tell him why you choked me, or that you choked me.
Why did his brother need to know if that actually happened?
You heard the testimony of the two neighbors, the boys that lived next to you,
Yes.
and you heard that they were actually questioned. I think the audio, they were audio interviewed. You heard from Detective Copsel. I think it was a couple of days later on the 25th of February or 27th of February.
Yes.
And you heard their testimony earlier this week,
Yes.
where they hear a kind of a thumping sound starting at the top of the steps, ending at the bottom.
Yes.
Have they got the night wrong?
Yes.
Explain to the jury that.
So it was the night before. Again, I was sleeping, and in the middle of the night with the door barricaded, he came in and ripped me out of the bed. And first got me with one hand, and then got both hands and pulled me completely off of the bed. And then, like a caveman, had my hair like this and was going down the stairwell, taking me with him to come downstairs so I could sit and drink with him.
Do you believe that's the noise that the two neighbor boys heard?
I absolutely do.
And it was just the night before.
Correct.
Who's more reliable? People who had actual schedules places to be,
Now,
people to see.
some of the time when this abuse occurred, you called the police.
Yes,
And other times the police were not called.
correct.
I want to refer to you the first time, I believe, you mentioned the 911 call. I believe that was July 25th of 2018.
Yes,
And that was the incident in which Georgia kicked you in the eye,
stopped me, yes.
stomped you, and you had grabbed his neck.
Yes, I was able to get my arms out from him pinning me down with his knees and grab his neck.
So law enforcement came and investigated,
Yes,
and both of you were arrested.
correct.
You recall asking the officer when you were arrested, why am I being arrested?
Many times, yes.
You recall asking the officer, why am I being arrested?
Yes,
And do you recall making any other statements to law enforcement as to why you did what you did to George?
that was the first time ever that I actually officially fought back.
Did you tell the officer that you were fighting back?
Yes, because I was completely shocked that I was getting arrested because of it.
That was her first 911 call. I want to say it was June of 2018. And so she learned going forward to say, oh, I was defending myself, because she felt like she hadn't said it soon enough for that. And that's why she got arrested. You know how she twists things up in her mind, like when she was telling Crane, you didn't ask me questions. So then every other call after that, she preemptively would say, oh, I was defending myself. This is the one that I was thinking of. So she told a totally different story here on the stand than what she tells the cops, and they will show that video later in the trial. I am so glad that Judge Cranick, in all of his wisdom, found that there was a scintilla of evidence so that all of these other pieces could come in. Like, shout out to the prosecution, to Dave Cacciatore and Will J. Like, they put those videos in the right sequence so you could see like what a downward spiral George was on. And I know somebody commented, so one of you guys left it in my comments, that there was some so-called body language expert who was like, oh, these look bad for George, these don't look good for George, when really they looked bad for George in the sense that it was tragic that that's how he was living his life, but they didn't look bad for him in the sense that he did anything wrong. So I think sometimes bias gets in the way of that, right? She's looking at this person with the tattoos, the darker skin, getting arrested, in handcuffs in the back of the car, and go, oh, that looks bad for him. But as it played, you could see each one, he was like waking up, kind of confused, what's going on. This time is probably the first time he fought back, which is why like she's inverting it, right? Like she's saying it's the first time she fought back. It was the first time he fought back and she didn't like it. And so she called the police. What does she tell him? Put the fear of the cops in him. And from then on, every time she wanted him to be fearful, more fearful than what she was, bearing down on him, if you will. And so she called the cops. She weaponized the police.
Now, on the 2-minute video, the suitcase video, you mentioned to him, I think you said something, I can't breathe. He said, I can't breathe. And you said, that's how I feel when you're choking me. Were you referring to an isolated incident of the night before, 2 nights before, or whatever, or were you referring to in general?
In general, more than 2 or 3, 4 times that he had done it.
Okay. And then what about cheating? He didn't physically cheat on you.
No, he's not.
Okay. And just, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but what are you referring to there?
George was, I believe, addicted to pornography, and a lot of that would be found on my phone from him supposedly wanting to call up job interviews. And as a solution, I sat him down and I explained to him, to me, that's you visualizing yourself with someone else, or at least having a pleasurable moment with someone else or watching other people. And to me, I told him that I considered that cheating on me.
Okay. And so he would download that on your phone?
Yes.
It's a whole bunch of us out here cheating then and ain't never met the person we cheated with.
How did you stay with her?
As,
You got to tell the jury.
as anyone who has ever been in love, or when you love someone, or primarily someone or something, you go above and beyond, and you tolerate and you endure and you persevere, and you try to make that person as spectacular as you possibly can, no matter the sacrifice that you may have to go through, to serve someone else in a positive light so they can be better people for themselves, and to just make them a happier person. And love is very strong, and love is very deep, and love, I believe, is not fully understood in a lot of ways for how different people react to it. And I very much deeply and passionately love George. I love him to this day.
Did you not want to be alone? In the eye.
It's not me, yes.
Thought you were. And you had grabbed his neck?
Yes, I was able to get my arms out from him pinning me down with his knees and grab his neck.
So law enforcement came and investigated,
Yes,
and both of you were arrested.
correct.
Do you recall asking the officer when you were arrested, why am I being arrested?
Many times, yes.
You recall asking the officer, why am I being arrested?
Yes.
Many times. How many times did the stop
Do you
it?
recall making any other statements to law enforcement as to why you did what you did to George?
That was the first time ever that I actually officially fought back.
Did you tell the officer that you were fighting back?
Yes, because I was completely shocked that I was getting arrested because of it.
Now, on the 2-minute video, the suitcase video, you mentioned to him, I think you said something, I can't breathe. He said, I can't breathe, and you said, that's how I feel when you're choking me. Were you referring to an isolated incident of the night before, 2 nights before, or whatever, or were you referring to in general?
Move, Mr. Owen.
The more than 2 or 3 more times that he had done it.
Okay. And then what about cheating? He didn't physically cheat on you.
No, he did not.
Okay. And just, I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but what are you referring to there?
George was, I believe, addicted to pornography, and a lot of that would be found on my phone from him supposedly wanting to call up job interviews. And as a solution, I sat him down and I explained to him, to me, that's you visualizing yourself with someone else, or at least having a pleasurable moment with someone else or watching other people. And to me, I told him that I considered that cheating on me.
Okay. And so he would download that on your phone?
Yes.
How did you stay there?
As,
You got to tell the jury.
as anyone who has ever been in love, or when you love someone, or primarily someone or something, you go above and beyond, and you tolerate and you endure and you persevere, and you try to make that person as spectacular as you possibly can, no matter the sacrifice that you may have to go through, to
Red flag.
serve someone else in a positive light. So
Can't
they can
make
be
someone
better
else
people
better.
for, themselves, and to just make them a happier person. And love is very strong, and love is very deep, and love, I believe, is not fully understood in a lot of ways for how different people react to it. And I very much deeply and passionately love George. I love him to this day.
Did you not want to be alone?
Beginning through my divorce, it was very nice to have him around, and he was a man to me, and I felt protected, and he's very nice. And as lame as it sounds, he used to compliment me, and it made my day. So yes.
During that period of time when you first started seeing George, would it be fair to say that you had low self-esteem?
Yes.
Now, we talked about this previous arrest where you told the officer you were fighting back and you got arrested. Now, I want to talk about your conversations with law enforcement. But first, I want to ask you, why did you go to the police station that day when you were interrogated there and saw the 2-hour video? Tell the jury.
The day of the incident, the detective cop cell gave me her business card with a personal cell phone number on it, and said if I happened to remember anything or anything that I would like to add to the day for me to not hesitate to give her a call. So throughout the rest of the evening, something was off. I didn't feel comfortable with what she told me and how she told it to me.
How long were you at the scene?
Gosh, all day, from the moment that they were there to the moment that the coroner's van drove off.
All right, when it ended, did you stay in your home?
No, I raced inside and collected some pajamas and a toothbrush, and I went over to where my son was at my ex-husband's house.
Did you wake the dogs?
I didn't even feed them. It was so fast.
All right, and then once you got over to your ex-husband's, what happened?
Dog
Is it
Mm-hmm.
abuse.
released to Detective Copson?
Something just wasn't sitting right with me, and I had a suspicion that she just wasn't being honest with me, so I took it upon myself.
Sustained.
So you called her. Tell us about that.
I called her and I told her that I felt that she was being dishonest with me. She originally had told me that due to her being pregnant, it would just be a lot easier for her to have me come down to the station to pick up my phone. The original plan was for she and Detective Loman to return the phone to my apartment. But she said that it would be a lot easier for me to just come down and pick it up because I remember when I was pregnant. That's what she said. You remember when you were pregnant. So I said, I feel that you're tricking me and I feel that you're being very sneaky about something and I don't believe that you're being honest with me. And I said, regardless, I'm still going to come.
Sustained.
So you agreed to come, but you understood it was to get your phone?
Correct.
All right, you came that afternoon to the station?
I did.
And the original agreement was they were to come to you?
Correct.
All right, when you got to the station, what happened?
I thought I was just going to be picking up my phone. My car was there. I had everything in my car. It was just a regular. I'm just going to go and maybe sign something and pick up my phone. And there's people that are over here at the windows. And I thought that I was supposed to go over there to get my phone. And Detective Loman came down and said that my phone was upstairs. So if I would just follow him upstairs, that's where my phone was. And then I was taken into I guess it was an interrogation room. And they told me to sit down. And that then I guess the interview or interrogation began. And I just simply kept getting my phone.
Sarah, tell the jury why.
Yes.
Why did he call her Sarah and not Miss Boone? And why did she think there was a window to get her phone? Who told her that? Because she came in with the list.
You may proceed.
Was she telling the people at the window
Boone?
she was giving them the list?
Ms. Boone, tell the jury why you lied to the police.
I lied to the police. Basically everyone, because I was extremely fearful of being arrested. I made the first attempt of me calling 911 by telling them what happened, and I thought they were going to help me, but instead I was arrested for calling 911.
So you made the decision to lie.
I did.
Did you stay with that lie?
She was not arrested for calling 911. She was arrested because she strangled someone.
I did.
Are you telling the truth today?
I am.
Now let me take you back to this incident. Is it fair to say that when George Torres is sober, he commits no violence against you?
No.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Is it fair to say that every time that he's intoxicated or every time that you're hit by him or harmed by him, it's when he's intoxicated?
Yes.
As a result, when he's drinking, does it change your outlook?
Yes.
Could you explain that to the jury?
I'm always fearful. Paranoia.
Why?
Because I try to protect and defend myself for fear something happens at the last ultimate second.
But you're always that way, fearful. Is it because of these prior incidences?
Absolutely.
Do you try to placate it?
All the time.
What do you mean?
With the puzzles and the painting and feeding the ducks across the way at the pond, listening to music, trying to go for a walk on the trail, anything that I
Who
possibly
dragged
can.
the
I told her I was
ducks?
running out of things to entertain him with.
Why do you think George? What bothers him?
Also speculation.
Sustained.
Does he tell you?
Speculation.
Sustained.
As a result of how he behaves towards you in that intoxicated state, how were you feeling the night of this event?
Objection has been answered.
Overruled.
Extremely nervous, anxiety galore. Just, I can never relax.
Even on the good day?
Yes.
And the state of intoxication that he was at the time of this event, is that the state that scares you the most?
It's the tone, yes. There's a lot of alarms and red flags that go on throughout the day or night or whenever it is that we are drinking.
Objection, non-responsive.
Sustained.
Tell us about that. How that does that heighten your sense of safety,
How is
At
that
times.
not leading?
especially when he's drinking?
Oh, yes, all the time.
And then his mood?
Yes, it depends on what mood he's in that day.
Well, do you have like a sixth sense of how he's doing?
Yes, I knew George very well.
Objection, non-responsive. Yes or no?
Sustained.
Can you tell us what you mean by that? Sixth sense, or knew him very well?
I guess you could say that I was trained by fear with him. It wasn't fun anymore when we would drink and we would hang out on the back porch. It wasn't fun anymore because I knew inevitably that something was going to happen to me one way or another.
Is Owens looking through some notes?
Miss Boone,
Sorry.
you know, those bruises that we saw of him, they look pretty deep. Tell the jury what you were thinking.
From the bat, you're
Yes.
I didn't want to die that night. I can't describe it to you. It's purifying love to a certain degree where my plan was to show him the next day and just I wanted him to be better and treat me nicer and be the person that he was when I originally met him. And I knew that was in him still. I knew that it could be found and I just couldn't figure out what it was that I was doing wrong in order for it to not be back.
This sounds like something out of a textbook. Oh, I wanted him to be that person that love bombed me. You know, that type of energy. And it's not consistent with her story. She hit him with the bat because she wanted him to be the same person that she met. I thought the reason she started with the bat was because he was trying to get out of the suitcase. He got angry because he couldn't breathe. Then you got angry because he was angry. And you started to tell him, this is what it feels like when I can't breathe. This is when it feels like when I'm choking. I don't know how that's making him a better person with a bat upside his head. But maybe I'm missing it. You guys let me know. What are your thoughts? Asking for a friend.
Back to where that was, and I was tired of living in fear and just sick all the time of figuring out how I can entertain him so I don't die and continue a relationship with my son and try to live a normal life. That wasn't a normal life for me, and just I bottom line is I didn't want to die. I would have died, or I would have been disfigured or maimed, or if it weren't me with the bat, it would have been him if he were to have gotten out.
That's all.
So killer
Any cross-examination?
Here we go. Let her have it, Mr. J.
Did George know somebody named Crystal? Did you ever mention Crystal in your text messages about being one of his bitches?
I don't know. I don't remember.
How about Christine? Did George know a Christine?
I don't know.
How about a Pamela Erickson?
These may have been people that he was communicating with on whatever the platform was.
On your phone?
I believe so, yes.
And did you find these communications?
I believe I found one or two of them from some of them.
And did you send a long letter to his family to relate to him about George and his girls that he was cheating on you with?
I believe so.
Okay, so you do know those names, right?
I don't remember them. It's been however long.
Okay. Now, on February 24th, 2020, you called 911 at about 1 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And at that point, you were still feeling a little intoxicated, were you not?
It was more shocking, yes.
So you agree that you previously stated, I was still, I believe, intoxicated to a degree?
To a degree, yes.
So 1 p.m., that's about 14 hours after 11 p.m. the night before, correct?
I'm guessing so.
Well, 12 hours prior would be 1 a.m., and then 12 a.m. is 13 hours, 11 p.m. is 14 hours, correct?
Okay.
And you were present
Yes
here
or
for
no?
medical examiner Dr. Zadovich to testify, correct?
Yes.
And you heard her talk about all the effects of ethanol that has on the human body, correct?
Yes.
And she also mentioned something that, on average, dissipates at about 0.015 an hour. Do you recall that?
I believe so.
So, would it be fair to say that if you're still feeling the effects of the alcohol at 1 p.m., so that's 14 hours, 0.015, you were at approximately about 0.21 at 11 p.m. the night before. Do you feel like you were 2.5 times the legal limit at that time?
I don't know how you came to that number.
Judge, I'll object.
Math. Came up with it for math. She doesn't want to agree to that. She's swallowing hard. She's looking nervous. She's trying to figure out where is he going. Somebody's giving her eye contact, telling her she's okay. I'm guessing it's Henderson. Or maybe his daughter. But yeah, she's about to step in it. I don't know how you got to that. Okay, well, he's going to break it down, even though your attorney is stalling. And it was a little defensive. Like, she
You may
could have been
proceed.
curious. Like, how did...
You
Let's
testified
run those
earlier that you all
numbers.
had about half of one of these bottles left from the night before, correct?
Yes.
The magnums.
And so would you agree that this is one of the 3 bottles that was purchased between February 22nd and the 2 that were purchased on February 23rd, 2020?
I'm guessing it is like the bottle, yes.
All right, and it's 1.5 liters. Would you agree? And when you say half, are we talking about the top of the label was left from the day before?
Oh, goodness, no.
All right, go less, halfway through the label?
It's too, right about.
Okay, about halfway through the label. So in addition to halfway through the label, which you began consuming after going to public at about 12:15, correct?
Yeah.
You all would have began consuming around 12:30, is it fair to say when we got back?
I can't tell exactly.
And after finishing what you all had left over from Saturday, the 2 of you consumed 2 1.5 liter bottles, correct?
I'm not sure about the second bottle that he purchased, if it was empty or not at the time.
We did mention that the police would find 2 empty bottles in the top of your trash, correct?
Yes.
And we did all see that in the photographs, correct?
See that
Two.
they empty the garbage, yes.
All right,
The
you
2
say you were
empty
about 100 pounds at
bottles.
the time? And we all know Mr. Torres was 103 pounds at the time of his death, correct?
That's what I said.
All right, so that's 3 liters of wine between 200 pounds split between 2 people over the course of a day, correct?
Yes.
And you testified today that you were intoxicated at the time that this occurred, the videos between 11 and 11:30 at night, correct?
Yes, at some level, yes.
Now, what does that mean to you? Previously, have you indicated that that means the room is spinning? Do you ever recall saying that?
I do.
So what was your level of intoxication at this point in time when the first video was filmed at 11:12 p.m.?
Do you mean from lack of sleep or alcohol?
From the alcohol.
What was my level?
Intoxication.
Did you have trouble with your balance?
We're going to go back.
I was more tired than anything.
Because
Did you have trouble
who
with your
gets
balance?
intoxicated from sleep?
Do you agree?
I don't know what he was looking for there. And I went too
And
far.
when you say half, we're talking about the top of the list. And you're both still laughing about it, correct?
Correct.
And after finishing what you all had left over from Saturday, the 2 of you consumed 2 1.5 liter bottles, correct?
I'm not sure about the second bottle that he purchased, if it was empty or not at the time.
We did mention that the police would find 2 empty bottles in the top of your trash, correct?
Yes.
And we did all see that in the photographs, correct?
See that
Two.
they empty the garbage, yes.
All right, and you say you were about 100 pounds at the time? And we all know Mr. Torres was 103 pounds at the time of his death, correct?
That's what I said.
All right, so that's 3 liters of wine between 200 pounds split between 2 people over the course of a day, correct?
Yes.
And you testified today that you were intoxicated at the time that this occurred, the videos between 11 and 11:30 at night, correct?
Yes, at some level, yes.
Now, what does that mean to you? Previously, have you indicated that that means the room is spinning? Do you ever recall saying that?
I do.
So what was your level of intoxication at this point in time when the first video was filmed at 11:12 p.m.?
Do you mean from lack of sleep or alcohol?
From the alcohol.
Who has intoxication from lack of sleep? Please put it down below, because, you know, I have a 16-month-old. I must be intoxicated all the time with no liquor, because sleep is definitely lacking. I wouldn't have it any other way, though.
What was my level?
What were you feeling? Did you have trouble with your balance?
I was more tired than anything.
Did you have trouble with your balance?
I don't believe so.
So you were able to flip a suitcase over with a 100-pound man in it, right?
I mean, yes, it happened,
Okay. How about your speech? Do you feel like your speech was slurred?
clearly.
How about your inhibitions? Do you feel like you were doing things that you wouldn't do when you were sober?
I wasn't thinking about that.
Well, on
Now.
reflection, do you feel like this is something you would have done when you were sober?
I didn't know me and George.
I'm just asking you, looking back on this, when he's in the suitcase and you're telling him how you feel, and then you wait 11 minutes and you film another 22 seconds, and then you go upstairs, upon reflection, is that something you would have done and left him in there had you not been drinking?
I don't know. I can't say.
Okay.
If I was scared, then it would be something.
Okay. All right. Now, today you testified about the time frame between the two videos, correct?
Yes.
So you came down from the shower where you were hiding, correct?
Yes.
And as you're coming down the stairs, before you even get to the bottom of the stairs, you can kind of see over your shoulder or towards your right that he's trying to hide in the suitcase, correct?
Yes.
And the lid is down, but it's not closed, and you can tell he's hiding in there. It's not a great hiding spot just yet, right?
Correct.
And so you come over to him, and you're laughing, right?
Yes.
And you move the suitcase around some before zipping it shut, right?
No.
No? You immediately zip it shut?
Yes.
Okay. And you're both still laughing about it, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then it's during this course of time, how quickly is it after you zip it shut that you begin filming the first video?
I don't know without watching it. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, the video's not going to catch you zipping him up because you're like 10 feet away, right? How quickly after you zip him up is it before the video starts is my question.
I don't know.
Okay. And then during
First
that
she
9
said-
minutes and 14 seconds,
She didn't know without watching, but even if we pulled it up, like he's saying, you're not going to know because it doesn't show when you started filming. Do you know what I mean? Like either you know it or you don't. It has nothing to do with watching it.
is when he begins to get angry, correct?
What 9 minutes?
Between the two videos, there's 9 minutes and 14 seconds between the end of 1061 and the beginning of 1062 and 1063. So you got the 2 minute, 3 second video that starts at 11:12:45, correct?
I guess.
Permission to use state 17?
You may.
Not a lawyer, but if you ever have to testify, don't be defensive with the other side. Your attorney will rehab your testimony if it needs to be. Not a lawyer, but I'm a damn good witness.
All right, so we're looking at entry 31107. That indicates, according to the phone extraction, 2/23/2020, 11:12:45 p.m. Image underscore 1062 movie begins being captured. And we've seen that that is about 2 minutes and 3 seconds.
Phone
Entry
line.
31113 indicates that image underscore 1063 got move.
Where's our AV guy? Come on.
That was disconnected. Okay. 31113, a second movie is captured at 11:23:03 p.m. Your testimony was that after that first video was captured by your phone and you, Mr. Torres began getting angry and trying to push his way out, correct?
Say it one more time, please.
Between these two movies, of which there's about 9 minutes and 14 seconds, Mr. Torres begins to get angry and try and push his way out and get out of the suitcase, correct?
He had been angry on and off throughout the entire day.
Okay. You didn't tell us that earlier. You said it was a wonderful, fun day all day, correct?
That's because I lived.
Okay. But you did not tell us earlier today that he had been angry throughout the day.
When would I say that?
You described your entire day of doing puzzles, arts and crafts, and outside by the dartboard, and you said it was a wonderful day and everything was fun until he was in the suitcase. Did you not testify to that earlier today?
I did.
My specific
Did you
question between
mention
these
he
two
was
movies is This
angry?
is when he begins to get angry and trying to push his way out and get out of the suitcase, correct?
Angry again, yes.
And he was expressing his anger in what manner? How did he say this?
At which point throughout the day?
Ma'am, you know very well that I'm talking about between these movies. Please answer my question. Between these two movies, how did he express his anger with you?
Told me that I was going to fucking die.
Okay. Now, this is happening after he's already told you several times he cannot breathe in the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
And he's been in there for whatever brief amount of time it took you to zip him up, and the laughter stops, and then you go over and begin to film, correct?
Yes.
And you're filming. Your purpose of filming is to kind of teach him a lesson. This is your chance to say something to him when he can't say anything back to you, correct?
No.
Then correct me.
There was no lesson to be learned. It was just
Isn't that
trying
what
to
Owen
try
said?
to understand how I felt, so maybe he could progress in being a better person the next day.
So you wanted him to understand how you felt in the past, and that's not teaching a lesson?
I just wanted him to understand.
All right, and so immediately prior,
I don't know about you guys, but whenever my teachers were teaching me lessons, they were trying to make sure I understood. So if she wasn't trying to make him understand, I would say it wasn't teaching him a lesson. But since she's trying to get him to change his behavior and look at things from her point of view, that's a lesson, ma'am. And did you hear your attorney opening statement?
prior to zipping him up and putting him into the movie, you had been upstairs, correct?
I'm sorry?
Immediately before coming down and zipping him up and then filming the first of the two movies, you had been upstairs in the shower, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to publish what has been labeled as image_1061, which according to the timeline was captured at 11:03 p.m. 31 seconds with her device. All right. Does this appear to be the suitcase that's in question in the two movies that are filmed at 11:12 and 11:23 p.m.? No? This is image 1061 taken at 11:03 p.m. 31 seconds. Does this appear to be the blue suitcase that's in the two videos that were captured at 11:12 and 11:23 p.m.?
Correct.
Did you take this image at 11:03 p.m.?
I don't remember if I did or not.
And again, we had, and by we I mean you and Mr. Torres, two 1.5 liters bottles of wine and plus whatever was left.
She doesn't remember taking this. This is a snapshot of this suitcase. You see it's right side up. That was taken before she filmed, yes, the first video. In the first video, she's flipped it over and he's upside down. Oh, no, you can't have my soda.
Left over from the day before, correct?
Correct.
So you don't remember taking this photograph?
I don't.
Do you remember whether or not Mr. Torres was in here?
I don't remember taking the photo.
Okay. So what is your memory of what happens between 11:03 p.m. and 31 seconds when that image is captured and then when the movie starts at 11:12:45? What do you remember?
I don't.
Do you remember anything from that night?
I do.
You told the police on February 25th, 2020, when they first showed you the video that you didn't remember taking that. You remember that?
I do.
In your testimony?
So from 11:03 to 11:12, he's inside that suitcase. She's saying she doesn't remember, but why would she be taking a picture of it otherwise? Do you know what I mean?
Testimony is you do remember taking that video,
I do.
but you don't remember taking that photograph 9 minutes prior.
Correct.
Is there something? Did you have more to drink in those 9 minutes?
I did not.
Was Mr. Torres in that suitcase the entire time between 11:03 when that image was taken and then when the second video was taken at 11:23 p.m.?
I believe so, yes.
So for 20 minutes? Yes?
However long the time frame is.
Did he begin telling you that he couldn't breathe before the video or do you not remember?
I don't.
Owen should have objected. She as ask and answer because she already answered that, but she gave a different answer before. She said she doesn't remember if he was in there when she took the picture. Now she's saying she does, or not that she remembers, but that yes, he was in there. That was asked and answered, and we got two different answers. I don't know if Owens is paying attention.
Now, you testified moments ago that your two neighbors must have misremembered which night the loud noise was, correct?
Yes,
And now you're telling us that you don't remember taking the photograph at 11:03 p.m., correct?
correct.
Did the police come out to your townhouse on Sunday, February 23rd, 2020?
Yes,
I'm talking about Sunday. This is the Sunday fun day when we're going to Publix twice. Were the police out of your residence?
no,
It was the day after, Monday the 24th, correct?
yes,
And that Monday morning, you called 911, well, Monday afternoon at about 1 p.m., correct?
yes,
And between that time frame, you were the only person in your apartment plus Mr. Torres in the suitcase, correct?
yes,
So if anything had been disturbed in your apartment, you had all the time that you wanted to undisturb them before calling 911, correct?
if I wanted to.
Okay. And your testimony is there was no loud boom that shook the walls of your townhouse at about 11 p.m. the night of February 23rd, 2020, correct?
Correct,
To the best of your memory, correct?
correct.
Now, that second video is 22 seconds where you just hear him say Sarah and you don't say anything. You're familiar with that video, correct?
Yes.
It's after that that you go upstairs, correct?
Yes,
How quickly is it that you go upstairs after that?
it was pretty quick.
Can you grab the dogs?
No, the dogs were upstairs already.
Did you call 911 and let the police know that you had zipped somebody shut in a suitcase and they had not been able to get out for 20 minutes?
I thought,
Did you go to Brian's house and tell him, I had to zip Mr. Torres up in a suitcase shut? We need to do something about that before it passes.
I believe that's what the phone call was.
What do you remember now about the phone call with Brian?
I know that I called him. I don't know specifically what it was about.
Now, your testimony, it seems like you spend day after day finding things to entertain Mr. Torres to do, correct?
Yes,
Almost like having a child. You have your own child, correct?
I do.
What you described sounded like having a small child. Would you agree?
That's your interpretation.
Well, you take him from doing arts and crafts to doing puzzles, so on and so forth, correct?
When he's been drinking, yes.
And Mr. Torres was notorious for doing some of these things, correct?
What do you mean?
Well, you described Mr. Torres as being notoriously known for doing things. You described your ex-husband, Brian Boone, notorious for doing things like nagging and calling all the time. You remember your testimony calling people notorious for doing things?
Yes.
What would you say people would say you're notorious for?
I don't know.
And you would not answer Brian Boone, your ex-husband's phone calls, just so that you could let him know that you're busy and you have things going on, correct?
I knew that at whatever time it was that he was calling me, that he could wait for the few moments of me getting up to where Lucas gets off school at 3 o'clock.
Okay. But you would return his call. You would let him call several times, correct?
That day, yes.
Okay. How about other days? Would he have to call to remind you to get Lucas on other days?
He wasn't reminding me. He was just making sure that Lucas was covered for a pickup or drop off.
All right. You didn't mention to the sheriff's office either February 24th or February 25th about going to Publix with Mr. Torres at noon or 12:17, did you?
I don't recall.
So the best evidence of that would be the recording of those interviews?
Correct.
Did you not remember going to Publix with Mr. Torres that day?
At what point?
At any point?
No, I didn't.
You had indicated to the police that it was about 4 p.m. that you all had started drinking after doing chores. Do you recall that?
I do.
And your testimony today was that it was really more after you guys went to Publix at about 12:17 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And you did not tell the truth to the police, correct?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question.
You did not tell the truth to the police about that, correct?
I did not.
And when they were asking you about Mr. Torres's injuries, you told them that you had nothing to do with it, correct?
Yes.
And that was not the truth.
Correct.
What did you all have for breakfast on the 23rd?
I don't remember.
So I think that's key. That the next day or 2 days later, she doesn't remember that she went to Publix in the afternoon, and now we're supposed to trust her memory 3.5 years later. We know she was there because there's a videotape of it.
Did you all have lunch?
I believe we had leftovers from, I think, something that we had in the fridge.
And do you recall what those were?
No, not at this point, no.
And then I believe you mentioned having a sandwich of some sort for dinner.
No, I believe it was for, I'm guessing, he and I ate at the same time.
So I don't know if she's got wet brain, but she said earlier that he had a
And
pork
at one point,
sandwich
Mr. Torres called his brother Juan, correct?
and she had some other kind of
Do you
stuff.
admit that you were yelling in the background, telling Mr. Torres to tell his brother that he had been choking you?
I don't know if I was yelling. I know that he could hear me through the phone.
So how long had that been going on that day? When did you start getting on Mr. Torres about choking you in the past?
He and I had conversations about it because he didn't remember doing it to me. And the next day and the day of,
Is it fair to say that there are just points in time where you don't remember what you do either, correct?
are you talking about almost 5 years ago?
I'm talking about from drinking. Is it fair to say that you don't often remember things that you did while you were drinking?
I would not say often.
In the course of your relationship with Mr. Torres, are there things you don't remember happening that happened the night before between you and him?
I can't say that at this point.
But you said that you don't remember taking that photograph at 11:03 p.m. on February 23rd, correct?
Yes.
Was there anything else that you were telling Mr. Torres that he needed to tell his brother?
Not that I can recall.
Was there anything you were telling him that he needed to tell his daughters?
Not that I can recall.
Now, you indicated that Mr. Torres would use your phone to look at pornography.
Correct.
Were there ever any points in times when it was you that was used looking at pornography?
If I was, it was to go back and look to see.
Did you ever threaten to get Mr. Torres arrested if he did not do what you wanted him to do?
I wouldn't say threatened.
Okay. Well, were there ever points in times where you would like him to call you or return a call, and if he didn't do that, you would threaten to get him arrested?
It depends on if he had my keys or something that I needed from him.
And it was your townhouse, correct?
Mine, yes, plus ours.
Well, when did you get him off the lease?
I'm not sure what year it was, but I don't think he was actually removed from the lease.
Okay.
I think he was made a different type of tenant.
And did you change the locks so that he couldn't get back in at the points in times when you kicked him out?
I did sometimes.
And then would you leave the key in the hiding spot that he was aware of?
There were multiple hiding places.
On any of the 911 calls, did you ever mention that Mr. Torres was aware of where you kept your keys and that's how you got back into the house?
She is crashing and burning right now. She didn't answer the question. And then she's like, there were many keys. Like, did he know where the keys were or not, ma'am? Because she definitely said that on one of the 911 calls. And now I just drew a blank on what the other thing was. Hang on one second. Let's see if I can just go back a smidge.
You do some chores, correct?
Yes.
So that is true. That part of it is true. You did do chores before going to Publix at 12:17?
Yes.
All right. After chores, you go to Publix and you get that 1.5 liter Magnum bottle of Woodbridge Chardonnay, correct?
I'm not sure what Magnum is.
1.5 liters. Instead of the 750s, it's the double size. It's like 2 bottles of wine.
Okay, yes.
So you got a 1.5 liter, right?
Yes, it was the larger bottle.
And you got home, and you at 100 pounds and Mr. Torres at 103 pounds began drinking this wine, correct?
I'm guessing so. I'm not going to guess times.
Well, don't guess. I mean, you got home from Publix. When was your first drink?
I'm not sure. I mean, we could have continued to do whatever was left over from what we didn't do before we went to Publix.
Okay. So you may have started drinking even later, correct?
Then
12:30 when you get back from Publix?
I don't know.
Okay. Was it 1:30 or 2:30 when you began drinking?
I don't know.
Was it before any of the phone calls to the brothers and his daughters?
Yes.
And so you drink what's left in the bottle of wine from the day before that's halfway label, correct?
At some point.
And then you drink 1.5 liters of wine, and he goes out and gets another one on his own without your permission or suggestion about 5:30, correct?
Correct.
And then you all consume that one as well, and it ends up in the trash can at the end of the night, correct?
Apparently.
At what point in the night does your memory
Yes.
stop? You described that it wasn't on at 11:03 p.m. when that photograph was taken. What's the last thing you actually do remember prior to these videos being made?
I don't recall that at this point. I don't remember.
All right, and so it ends in hide and seek after arts and puzzles, correct?
Yeah.
He says, tag, you're it, but you run and go upstairs and hide, right?
Yes.
So does that mean he's it and he's supposed to come find you?
No, that's just,
So you both hide?
no.
Okay. How does this work?
I don't know how to tell you.
Okay.
I was it and I went and hid.
I mean, my understanding of the rules of hide and seek is one person will be it, cover his or her eyes and count to like 20 and then go find the person that's hiding. Is that your familiarity with the rules too, or do you guys have house rules?
I understand how the
Okay.
hide and seek.
So explain to me, what was your expectation? You go up to the shower. Were you expecting him to come find you?
I was.
Okay. And after a while, he did not come find you.
Yes.
And that's when you return downstairs.
Correct.
And because of the way your townhouse is set up, you can kind of see over where the suitcase is and that He's trying to hide in there, but it's not successfully hidden just yet.
I mean, yes, you have to come down a good ways in order to be able to.
Right. But you testified that was before you got to the bottom.
Yes.
All right. And then you come over there and thinking that it's funny, you zip him shut, correct?
Yes, we both thought it was funny.
Okay. The defendant, let's stand down.
Entering the well?
Yes.
Yes.
Anything else?
Deputy, can we release her into the well, please?
I accidentally skipped a part, but I'm not going to go back.
All right. Ms. Boone, can you demonstrate for the jury where Mr. Torres' head was and how his body was positioned in the suitcase, if you don't mind?
His back was this way and his head was here.
All right. And then is it fair to say his feet are kind of down here, which would be the front left corner from their perspective in the jury box?
Yes.
And then his knees are kind of tucked up towards his face.
If I remember correctly, yes, that's the position.
Okay. All right. Can you help me understand how it was that his zip is shut? Can you show us where you say he left an opening that his hand got out of?
Would it be easier to put it on here?
I didn't want to make you go down there. If you're happy doing that, I'll let you.
Hold on. Does she need to be wearing gloves?
Yes.
Agreed. If she's going to be manipulating it.
This part bugs me when Owens pops up. Like, you don't need to hand her the glove, sir. The deputy had it.
What do you want her to do?
Just demonstrate how she zipped it shut.
Okay, well, where's the paperclip? And do you remember what? This one is in?
Okay, where's the paper clip? Does that sound like somebody who's traumatized by waking up and finding her boyfriend dead in a suitcase in which she refused to let him out?
This side.
Owens can't keep his britches up. I want him to go sit down, though. I don't know why. Sarah just looks evil to me. This whole little outfit with her ballerina slippers on. She looks like
Just paperclip.
an evil elf.
was on when this
No,
event
she
occurred.
doesn't.
When we pulled the suitcase out earlier, the paperclip was not attached. So now the prosecutor has attached the paperclip. We don't know if that's the way it was attached.
It's not even a paperclip.
We don't
Okay.
know if that's the proper way that it was attached. But he's asking her now to pull,
Is there an objection?
yes?
Approach.
What's the objection? Doesn't she know how the paper clip was fastened before when she zipped up George? Or we have to get a picture and properly affix this paper clip?
Objections overruled.
All right. Madam Corporal, are you ready?
Overruled. Figure it out, Sarah.
The two zipper parts were positioned when you say that Mr. Torres was able to get his hand out. If you want me to do it, I'm fine to take your direction.
From what I remember, this is how the suitcase was. This was up here. This was not this hard either.
Maybe not make mention of how hard it is.
Like here.
Okay.
Right here.
All right there, ma'am?
Sure.
I assume this one was much closer? It's not over there? Where do you,
You asked me where I zipped it.
when you say that was zipped shut, show us.
Are you talking about how I zipped it or?
When you're done zipping it shut and he's inside of it, where are the zipper components?
And she zipped up both zippers while he was in there? She was not. That wasn't for a joke. That was to keep him in
Just to
there.
move that up.
I mean, it was the corner. I mean, it's the corner was cut open. I mean, it's not. Yes, this one was on the image. Yes. From what I can remember. That's how he was coming with his hand out.
Why
It
does
was
she
like
keep
this
saying
the
from what she
Okay,
can remember?
thank you. You can return to your seat.
Oh, the gloves are green on the inside. Interesting.
Did you ever change the position of those zippers once you put it in that position?
I did not.
Why didn't we see an
So once
opening
it was
on the
zipped
video
into
though?
there,
Or his?
there's some amount of time, but you don't remember specifically before you start taking the 2-minute video, correct?
Yes.
And then that's when you say what you say, and that's when he says what he says. We've all heard it, correct?
Yes.
And then between there, in that second video of the 22 seconds length, it's at this point where he's beginning to get angry. And then that's when you take the baseball bat that's in evidence, and your testimony is you start poking him with the end of it.
Did you say this was the second video?
Between the two videos, that's when you started hitting with the bat because he was getting angry and trying to escape, correct?
Right, I was not hitting him. Yes.
Okay. Did you ever hit him with the bat while he was outside of the suitcase?
No.
So each time that he is hit with the bat, it's through this suitcase. And that's what leaves the marks on him because you didn't hit him with the bat outside the suitcase, correct?
Yes, if you'd like me to demonstrate.
No, that's okay. The suitcase will speak for itself. And then you take the second video and you go upstairs and go to bed, correct?
I apparently went upstairs and I used the phone to make a phone call.
Okay.
And then I fell asleep.
All right. And at the point in time when you left and went upstairs, he was still inside the suitcase, correct?
Correct.
Was he still asking for you and calling your name?
Not that I can recall.
Did you say shh to him again?
I don't remember.
Did you tell him that this was his problem and it's on you again?
I don't remember.
Did you do anything to help him escape from the predicament that you zipped him up in?
No.
No other questions?
Any redirect examination?
Ms. Boone, he just asked you the question that you poked him and you didn't poke it. You poked, every time you poked him hard with the bat, he was inside the briefcase,
The suitcase, yes.
the suitcase. But you remember when he put his hand out, did you not hit him in the hand outside the suitcase?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the only time the bat touched Mr. Torres's body outside the suitcase,
Yes.
was when you hit him with a hand. But all the other injuries were with you poking him pretty hard. I mean, you bruised your hand, correct? Doing that. Thank you.
That's all.
Ma'am, you can return to counsel's table.
Judge, can we approach you?
Just a moment. Let me get her situated at table, and then we can approach.
She looks wrecked. And that little conciliatory pat, yes, that she got from the jury consultant was sad. Sad. She looks wrecked. She knows, like, she did not nail that. Her stories don't even sound plausible. Like, who believes that George was going to not eat his steak and potatoes and instead demand to have sex with her? Like, ma'am, we don't believe you. Oh, she's writing notes to someone. I mean, she couldn't remember her story from 1 minute to the next. My opinion, she was blackout drunk. She doesn't remember any of it. Just like she didn't remember going to Publix with him the first time. Like, her memory is spotty. And so probably somewhere around the phone call with his daughters is her last full memory. I wonder if she even called her brother, though. I should look at those phone records.
All right, members of the jury, thank you so much. It is 5:42. At this point in time, the court's going to go into recess for the evening. I thank you again for your continued service and your attention in this matter. We're going to start tomorrow again at 9 a.m. here in 12 Alpha at the Orange County Courthouse. I'll read you another instruction. I know you've heard it. I'm sure you're sick of it, but I got to keep reading it. So thank you. Jurors, you must not conduct any investigation on your own. This includes reading newspapers, watching television, or using a computer, cell phone, the internet,
Let me
any
look
electronic
and see
device, or any other means at all to get information related to this.
Let me look and see if Sarah comes back the next morning. Hang on. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. I got too excited. For some reason, I missed that Owens did the redirect with the hand. So I went back to look. So we've seen all of it. The light is changing. So now I'm starting to look like I'm being recorded by a potato. Yeah, that's not going to help. All right, guys, that is all I have for you. The sun has gone down, the baby has napped twice, and we are finally done. Thank you for hanging out with me. Let me know any inconsistencies that you saw. I was trying to keep track of them. I seem to find different ones each time. I think this is like, well, this is my first time seeing it all the way through, but this is like my third or fourth time seeing pieces of it. William J. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you, State of Florida. The way you guys laid this out was brilliant. I'm just, yeah, super excited. Ding dong. The witch is dead. She's worse than I thought. I knew she was bad. I had a feeling. Now I've seen the proof. What about you guys? Worse than you thought? Same as bad as you thought? Better than you thought? Let me know down below. Thanks for hanging out with me. I was going to do the verdict video tonight, but I don't think so. Maybe I'll just do it as a live tomorrow night. Keep your notifications on. Please hit that thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you have subscribed, make sure your notifications are turned on. You know, all the fun YouTube-y stuff. Toodles!